Cool Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host, the Yamina Revolution. And what did the Pope release when he opened up these 5 portals just not today? What did he release? Before we get into that, be sure to wipe your feet. That means hit the like button. Like, share, subscribe, support the platform, y'all. Well, revolution is a way of life. A revolution is for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We got some revolutionary dinner lined up for y'all. This is very demonic salute, fam. What the hell is the Pope doing? Why is he playing demonic games? We got to get into this. I got a lot of information lined up for y'all. Salute.
We are going to be looking at some disturbing videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. I do want to go ahead and start this video off by saying I do want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I know for a lot of us, including myself, we feel like 2025 is when things are really going to hit the fan. Things are going to become even stranger in 2025, but let's go ahead and call it out right now, put it in the air, that 2025 will be a great year. That the worst of it is behind us, but it really doesn't help that 2024 is going to end with a portal opening ceremony by the Vatican, and this is basically how 2025 will begin. Yes, this is not the first time that the Pope, the Vatican have opened these holy sacred doors. They do this every 25 years during these jubilees. But here's what I find rather interesting. The Vatican, the Pope, they do these jubilees every 25 years where they open these holy sacred doors. They did it in 1975. They did it in 2000. But for whatever reason, they did it again in 2015, 2016. Now, the first holy door, and I do want to go ahead and state they never once called it a portal, but the first holy door was opened by Pope Francis in Bangui on November 29th, 2015, during a tour of East Africa. The Jubilee officially ended on November 20th, 2016, with the closing of the Holy Door of St. Peter's Basilica, which had been open since the Holy Year began the previous December. So if this is a tradition that happens every 25 years, the opening of the Holy Door at St. Peter's Basilica, why did they do it again in 2016 after they did it in 2000? And why are they doing it again in 2024? But the only difference is the wording. This time, they're not just opening a holy sacred door, but 5 holy sacred portals. And this is the very first time they'll be opening a holy sacred portal at a prison. When I think of the Bible, biblical times, prisons, I think of fallen angels, fallen ones. Here's where things get a little bit more interesting. And how I operate on this channel, I like to look at the timing of things. I like to look at previous news stories and link them to current news stories. Some channels like to use gematria, some like to find signs and symbols, and that's all fine. I personally like to look at 2 different events, the timing of these 2 different events, and the coincidences, the quote-unquote coincidences between these 2 different events. Does anybody remember in the beginning of 2024, there was a news story that came out from the Vatican out of nowhere, where the Vatican wanted to update their apparitions document to make it easier to identify supernatural events. So back in the beginning of 2024, the Vatican out of nowhere believe that many people around the world will start to claim that they have experienced and seen apparitions, ghosts, supernatural events, demons, and so forth. Now, of course, we do live in a day and age where almost everybody has a cell phone on them. So essentially that means that almost everybody has a camera on them. So they are going to record these supernatural sightings and upload them to different social media websites like YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter. With all of these different photos, videos, and people talking about their supernatural experiences, they are basically all considered a hoax or heresy until the Pope, the Vatican, deems it so. So what the Vatican does, they send out some of their bishops to examine some of these supernatural events, and these bishops, after they examine these events, they report back to the Vatican, so the Vatican can make a determination. But this process can take some time, so the document Norms for a Proceeding in the Discernment of Alleged Supernatural Phenomena was updated to expedite the process to debunk these claims a lot quicker. So for a lot of us, we thought that something was going to happen, something was coming, and they basically wanted to get control of the situation and put their own spin on it. This was also around the same time that we had gotten news, again, out of nowhere, about demon face syndrome. And you really have to ask yourself, what was that all about? All these different news agencies at one time in March, in the beginning of March, decided to let us know that a condition exists that was called demon face syndrome, where people will see the faces of demons in different people. And they knew that this one individual they used as an example had this condition back in 2020. They knew about it in 2021, 2022, 2023. And then, like I said, out of nowhere, all the different news agencies started talking about it. Going back to the apparitions document, people said that this means nothing because, again, everybody has a cell phone on them, social media, clout. There's a lot of fake things being passed around, and they're trying to state that they are real events. But we have to remember, people had cell phones on them for years now. They have had social media for years now. And in 2024, they are now updated this document that will debunk all of these claims where, again, a lot of people are going to report very strange things. This all just becomes a lot more interesting with this news story of these portals, this one portal being opened for the very first time at this prison 10 years later after the last Jubilee, almost 10 years later, and it's going to be live streamed for everybody to see. The last Jubilees, they were not live streamed. The 2016 Jubilee was not live streamed, but this one, they want to make sure everybody around the world watches them open up this portal, these portals. And on the topic of the word portal, like I said, they have never used the word portals before in any Jubilee, especially one as recent as the 2016 Jubilee. And there are people that are saying that portal just means door. It's another word for doorway. And that is true. But you have to understand, when it comes to these people, words mean everything. Phrases mean everything. And the fact that they are using the word portal out of nowhere in 2024 during this Jubilee has to mean something. I myself, all I can say is that, and I know I have Catholics subscribe to me, but I myself, I am not going to watch this portal opening ceremony as it's being live streamed. You know what's also funny? Throughout 2024, there were multiple news stories almost every month about portals, portal this, portal that. And I actually made a lot of videos on these portals, on these news stories. And I said in every one of those videos, why are we constantly hearing and seeing imagery of portals? What are they trying to tell us? And come to find out, we are ending 2024 and beginning 2025 with a portal opening ritual. What I also think about quite often when connecting the dots of these stories is the 2024 closing ceremony of the Olympic Games, where we saw a giant portal and these beings, these gray beings surrounding this portal. And we had this golden entity called the Voyager come through this portal. They were showing us entities coming through a portal. And you have to remember, when it comes to the Olympic Games, they do carry predictive programming. For instance, back in 2012, they were basically showing us the C-19. They were showing us hospital beds, and in the middle of these hospital beds was basically death. They say it's Voldemort from Harry Potter, but it looks like death holding a needle. And what's even more interesting, they were showing us the dancing nurses that we saw during the C-19. Now in 2024, the Olympic Games, they are showing us demons coming through and surrounding a portal. And this was their closing ceremony. And we are closing 2024 with a portal opening ritual. You can't make this up. How can people not see these connections? They will even be chanting and doing a hymn as the Pope is opening up the holy sacred portal to this prison and these other holy sacred doors. And if you go back to the closing ceremony of the 2024 Olympics, while this demon was inside the portal, they had this ritualist, this individual inside the portal with this demon singing the hymn to Apollo. Like the 2012 Olympic opening ceremony, this is nothing more than predictive programming showing you what is going to take place ahead of time. like I said, I just get such a bad feeling about all of this. Demon face syndrome, these updated documents, all of the imagery when it comes to portals, and how 2024 will end with a portal ritual and 2025 will begin with a portal ritual. On top of everything else, 2025 will be the year of the serpents. So even though we want to call it in the air and put it out there that 2025 will be a great year, to be positive, would it surprise me that things will become even more bizarre in 2025? No, it would not. Talking about the year of the serpent, let us not forget that the Paul IV Audience Hall oddly looks like the head of a serpent, and inside the head of the serpent is this. But talking about the Vatican, Moon Henry on TikTok made a really good video talking about just that, the Vatican. Check this out.
I remember when Mel Gibson was completely blacklisted by all of Hollywood. And is it possible it had something to do with the Vatican? Let's search this thing out a little bit deeper. So Mel Gibson was blacklisted by Hollywood and put on shows like South Park to make fun of him. So let's start by listening to just one statement out of his mouth and go from there.
That some of your worst nightmares were real. It does rip your life to pieces. If you'll let it.
What will destroy your life if you let it?
These little guys, these little heathens with no soul downstairs with horns on their head.
Did you hear that last statement? Something underground, devils, heathens, all that stuff? Like underground, maybe they have soulless entities, demonic entities of horns? Just for entertainment. But when he said that, something very vivid came to mind. Do you remember when the chief exorcist at the Vatican said that Satan was running around there? And this was also addressed by Pope Francis?
Headlines around the world recently when he said the devil was present in the Vatican.
Why would they say such a thing? And I wonder if there's any clues. It's been said for quite some time now. There's a whole bunch of things under the Vatican and in the Vatican Library. That Vatican Library that nobody can go in except for certain people, having to know exactly what they want to look at. By the way, this is not creepy at all. They say it's Jesus, but what it looks like is kind of like Apollo coming from the abyss with all these demons. Many people have hard evidence of demonic things being under the Vatican.
So here in this room, they have a vase which has the image of a Medusa.
So Medusa actually goes quite a ways back, but obviously she had snake, you get it, serpent for hair. And she also turned people into stone. But turning people to stone, surely that's a myth, right? It has to be a myth. It's not like there's stone sculptures all around the world, especially the Vatican, that are so realistic and could even show things like veils on their head. I wonder if maybe the myths aren't myths, but actual fact. You know, we've also seen something very similar on the line, The Witch in the Wardrobe, haven't we? Where people were literally turned to stone. Maybe it's not as far-fetched as we may think. Maybe everything that's a myth is real. Because, of course, we know all the Greek gods were the Nephilim and were the fallen angels, right? Yeah, I don't know if someone sculpted that. Okay, it seems something might be treacherous under the Vatican. What about their theme park in Rome that had these demons on top? And Moloch? How about when they put this sculpture of Moloch right at the Colosseum? I'm sure you know what this god is for, right? The same god as Baal or Baal, the old Canaanite god of the golden calf. You know, I checked this image right here, and it said it was not likely AI. This thing I can't tell you for certain, but some people are alleging that the Scream persona came from the Vatican. They did have artwork, not this, that was just the same though. So what was Mel Gibson so scared of that said it could destroy a human? And that was quite literally underground, soulless individuals with horns. I'm not sure, but I do know one thing. Andrew Garfield came out way after the fact saying that Mel Gibson deserves a second chance. This was after the noise of freedom. The problem is Mel's still Mel.
You know, by their fruits, you'll know them. Seen any good fruit lately?
You know, at this point, I've learned to trust nobody. But I also think with him being the Passion of Christ, maybe he would have crossed trails with people from the Vatican. If you don't already know, the Vatican gave power to the crown and the crown to the U.S. So we in the U.S., we owe it to the Vatican. And of course, we have all this stuff going on in the sky, and we have the Pope coming out to open those 5 ritual portal doors. And with him doing all these portal things, while all these things happen to be in the sky, in the 12th century, Bishop was known for his mystic revelations. According to his prophecy, Pope Francis, identified as 266th pontiff, is ominously termed the Pope of the Apocalypse. I happened to see this at the same time. So is it possible that Mel Gibson wasn't actually talking about Hollywood? Hollywood was a place in ancient Rome where they had Mir or Lake Diane, the goddess of Diane the Huntress. And the trees there, the Hollywood trees, would make their magic wands. And again, Rome, meaning that the source of magic all around the world is the Vatican. So maybe he wasn't talking about Hollywood. Maybe he was talking about the Vatican. Maybe it's always been the Vatican.
But it's not just the Vatican. Let's go ahead and end today's video with, again, one of my favorite segments, pastors who are acting very hypocritical and talking about their sins at the pulpit, and their audience members, the churchgoers, completely mesmerized by these pastors.
But I don't carry a wallet. I carry one of these things. You know, Jerry Savelle taught me to just go Louis Vuitton. I got Louis Vuitton underwear. I got all kinds of stuff. Jerry showed me how to do all that stuff. He Louis Vuitton. When they walk in, they go, Louis here.
Yes, sir. This is Rosetta. She came in tonight with pain all over her body. She even had surgery on her vocal cords because there was some blockage, but that pain is leaving her body, and she believes tonight God has healed her vocal cords, and she's believing that she can sing tonight.
What happened to you? Well, I've got a very long story.
Touch.
Don't put it on me. That means you're rejoicing because you're ready to go.
There's
a series of documents that total almost $50,000 to limo land in 2013 and 14. Okay, what was that for?
That was to cut the Mercedes into a limo.
It was to cut the Mercedes
into a limo.
And who needs that?
No, that's for guests.
It's for guests. And for you?
It's mostly
when
for
you're entertaining guests?
Yes.
When you're entertaining.
Well, I'm not. But when we have guests come in, high profile people, we
you have to have a limo
that way. Don't have to have a limo, but
in a Mercedes limo.
We treat them.
You treat them?
I said that we have hospitality. Maybe that's a better word.
Okay, then.
And this is not the first one the ministry's had. We had another Mercedes limousine. That's right.
So you paid limo land almost $50,000 total.
Almost $50,000.
And that was for what? To make a limo.
To cut the Mercedes into a limo.
And you think that was a good use of the money that people donated to you in JMMI?
Well, I mean, the banks certainly have looked at that on our books as good because it has an appraisal value of almost $200K, a little over $150,000.
So, but you got this from donations and you decided to use it to make a limo?
We really invested really good. The banks.
No,
really
I'm just asking if that's what you did.
No, not the way you're saying it. You're fortifying, forging.
I'm forging?
With your mouth. Yeah.
At church. Yeah, that's where I'm going. You ought to be there with your stupid stuff. You ought to be going with me. Your pastor got a jet. Where you get the money from to get a jet? From the Lord.
You walk on gold. It looks like this. See that gold? See on them shoes? Get a shot of this, boys. Get close. Come on, man. Look, I paid a fortune for them things. Suck in there, man. See that gold? Some of y'all got that in your teeth. Okay. Look at gold is very, very expensive. Great.
So for you that don't think I should have that plane, God told me to have that plane.
When he didn't respond to our request for an interview, I met him at a book signing. Why do you need a $54 million private jet?
We're not doing any kind of interviews right now. I'm in a book.
I just like to know why you need keep your hands off me. Why are you people touching me like this? Let go of me. The next day, back on the pulpit, he joked about how his security got rid of me.
She's gone. Boom. I can hear her holler. And I came back and said, what'd you do with her? He said, I made her outside edition.
For $54 million, I want you to imagine how many people could be fed. how many homeless could have places to sleep.
Only Anthony.
You see, so when people criticize my house or my car or my bling bling or my wife, I tell you what, he so dresses her good. Well, yeah, why? I got to look at her. I buy that woman makeup. I seen her without it. I said, don't leave home without it.
That's disgusting, bro.
Not that she ugly, but she just look better. She want to buy something pretty, put it on, mama, because all it does is make me look good. They said, that's your wife? Whoo, somebody must really love her. Someone saw her diamond ring the other day. I don't know, it was her wedding band. She got a beautiful wedding ring. And they said, and some person said, boss, somebody must really love you. Why? Well, if the spotlight hit it to blind you, that's not bragging. You think it is. You think that's lavish living. No, that's biblical living. That's biblical living. It's biblical living. And I can prove every which way I'm living. I am living biblically. But how many of you are living biblically?
Yes, to those watching this, I agree with you. This is absolutely horrifying. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe.
These scammers. These demons is the ones leading our people away. But now we need to dig a little bit deeper into the Pope and these portals that was open. Salute to everybody in the building.
Showing many different demonstrations. Yo, what's good? It's your boy B-Dale. If you're new to this channel, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. In today's segment, I'm going to be breaking down the metaphysical codex of the demonic interstellar vortex portals that's going to be opened up by the Pope in the dark priesthood of the Vatican Church on December 25th. That's based on ritualistic necromancy to summon the energy of Lucifer. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you already know what time it is, because I've been displaying to you guys and showing many different demonstrations, many different, exhibits telling you that we're basically at the apex of the Great Awakening period. So this is basically the finality system of the 2025, which is basically equated to completion. Everything is basically operating from a seculum of a cycle. Everything is operating in increments. It's a process that must take hand when you're talking about the shifting process, right? Because you got to understand what portals are. Portals are basically metaphysical doorways to other dimensions, right? It's metaphysical doorways to other dimensional realities, basically, right? So it's basically the glue in between the spiritual realm, the quantum realm, and the material realm at the same time, and the mental plane. So first off, we're going to get into what's going on, right? Because everything that you're seeing taking place is basically a form of eschatology, and it's a form of prophetic divination. So this video, the basis of this video is basically talking about, the 5 portals that's going to be opened up on Christmas by the Pope. Now, originally, it used to be 4 doors that used to be open, 4 portals during this Jubilee ritual, and it operates on 25-year increments. So the last Jubilee year that we had was in the year 2000, when they said that the world was going to end, basically, right? And I'm going to prove to you that everything in the simulation operates in increments of cycles, right? History repeats itself because, as I was telling you, it was basically connected to the 80-year cycle block that's connected to the precessional circle of the equinox. All this stuff works in tandem. When you look at the blueprint of all my videos, you will basically see that everything is basically working in conjunction. The synchronicities are basically syncing up, right? And I have the receipts to prove it. And the information that I found in this video is incredible. Because as I was telling you before, symbolism is going to be their downfall, because symbolism and the sigilcism that they propagate all throughout their secret rites, all throughout their, secret societies, the symbolism denotes the fact that it's a form of an esoteric codex, right? It's a form of communication for those who understand the arts of the occult, right? Everybody doesn't have the metaphysical eye to understand and comprehend the sigilcism of that's connected to many different factions the secret societies that's connected to the dark priesthood of the Vatican Church. So originally, you know, like I said, this happens in 25-year increments. And it just so happens that we're actually in the year of 2025, basically, going into the year 2025, right? So this is the time period, like I said, we must be on our shit. We must get our shit together, right? Because these rituals is basically taking place. They basically putting everything in your damn face now. They telling you, they opening up portals. You got UFOs, you got drones that's based on frequency modification and frequency modulation, right? To extract your energy with subatomic particles in a microscopic ways, and it uploads it into a neuromorphic cyber cloud that is based on a form of a technocracy for Elon Musk and this whole deep state system, right? They've been telling you about everything. Everything is basically syncing up. All the chosen ones that's basically been talking about, you know, conspiracy theories, talking about the metaphysical and esoteric information. We've been talking about this, you know, for many different years now. And now we're at the apex of a system. The house of cards are basically starting to crumble and fall, right? Everything, the whole system of patriarchy is starting to fall. Because I was telling you before, there is no such thing as democracy. And democracy is basically a derivative of patriarchy. So patriarchy in itself is a fallacy to nature. So that's why nature must take back the planet. So that's why they opening up these portals to basically do these rituals. They doing these rituals to combat the energy of the degradation that's coming from the magnetosphere that's basically going to destroy the system, right? Because they said that this is basically the 5 holy doors of salvation, right? And I'm going to break down the etymology of the word salvation, and I'm going to give an opposite codex of what it really means, of what they're basically trying to do. Because also, like I said, they're trying to summon the energy of Lucifer, right? You cannot negate that energy. They're trying to summon the energy of Lucifer to keep the sleep spell going, basically. The sleep spell of King Gu. The sleep spell of King Gu that's connected to the energy of the moon, right? And the energy of the moon is connected to the material plane, which is why your energy in motion, your emotions, is connected to inanimate objects that doesn't have no type of intrinsic value. It only has a temporal power. So that means that everything connected to patriarchy is temporary, right? I need you to understand that. Now, we finna get into the video. Me and my big mouth talking too much. But see, like I said, this is a real thing. This is in the New York Post. Pope Francis to open up 5 sacred portals on Christmas Eve for a ritual that's never been done before, right? Because they never open up 5 doors. It's only been 4, right? And I'm going to tell you why they opening up 5. I'm going to show you all the esoteric symbolism, the sigillism that basically is an alignment to everything that's taking place within the presentation, right? Now, you got to understand the sigillism. So there's 5 doors that's going to be opened up in Rome. So you got the San Callisto door, then you got the door in Vatican City, then you got a door in Rome, then you got another door that's in Rome, and then you got another door that's going to be opened up by San Beliso, right? And these 5 doors basically create the sigillism of Lucifer that is also an emulation of the sigil of Moloch. And the sigil of Moloch is also acclimated to the Khazarian Tamga, which is also known as the Ukrainian crest, that's connected to the Canaanite factions, which is also a derivative of the Black nobility, right? So these interstellar vortex portals, these demonic portals that they're basically trying to open up, because as I was telling you before in one of my transmissions, I told you that when you have there's a no-fly zone in Antarctica that creates the sigillism of Lucifer, right? Which is basically an emulation of the Khazarian Tamga or the sigil of Moloch. So that means that they're basically trying to create a ritual, a doorway that's connected to Antarctica, because Antarctica is where Lucifer's palace is at, right? This is why the deep state shadow government, they was holding meetings in Antarctica, right? This is why everything is, you got to remember everything that basically transpired in between the times from 2017 all the way up until now, right? You got to go back and start paying attention to some of the stuff, the meetings and places that the plutocracy and these oligarchs were basically going, right? So the 5 doorways are basically the emulation of the sigil of Lucifer. right? So one thing you got to understand that there's basically a necropolis under the Vatican City, right? And the necropolis basically is a place where they do necromancy, which is a form of incantations and black magic to summon the energy of demonic spirits to get edification, premonitions, and knowledge about the future, right? And to basically destabilize and neutralize the coming events. But like I said, the energy of the Most High, which is equated to these gamma radiation particles hitting the planet, is going to destroy the illusion of Lucifer, the two physical eyes, which is based on the subatomic particles. Because as I was telling you before, that architecture is frozen music, which creates physical density, right? Because we're going into the spiritual plane, right? That's why you see in the eradication process of everything in a physical world, celebrities falling, the system is falling. So this ritual is another resource for the plastocracy to keep the illusion going. The two physical eyes, Lucifer, because also there's a sigillism within your neurological faculties. Like I said, it's connected to the eyes, right? Because the eyes is going to deceive you because it's connected to a form of third density. We're going into higher states of consciousness, meaning that everything on the planet is starting to speed up in vibration, meaning that it's going to create a vaporized state to where you're going to go back into your ethereal state, right? So the 5 doorways create the sigillism of Lucifer, right? Now, they said that these 5 doorways are basically the doors of salvation. Now, what is salvation? What is the opposite of salvation, right? The opposite of salvation is damnation, downfall, and destruction. So this is why salvation is basically similar to redemption, deliverance, and saving. They doing this ritual to basically save the illusion of the system to keep us in a state of third density, right? They want to create this totalitarian dystopia that's based on a technocracy. That's why they're doing all the stuff that they're basically doing, right? So this is why it's imperative to understand that all these rituals that they're basically doing are basically pagan rituals. These are Luciferian rituals. This is nothing sacred that's basically coming from the Catholic Church, right? Because that's where all the hedonistic concepts extract from, because it's basically a derivative of the Assyrian Empire that's connected to ancient Babylon, right? Your so-called, demo system that was connected to the secret treaty of Verona, right? So they said that the doorway is the holy door of salvation. So they're doing this ritual, open up the 5 portals to basically save the system, right? Which is a form of reclamation. So the opposite of salvation is downfall. They trying to create, they don't want the downfall to happen. They don't want the reset to happen, right? That's why they're scared, because they know that their time is up. That's why it propagates in the book of Revelations that it says that the beast man, the devil, has a 6,000-year reign on the planet that is acclimated to the last moon cycle as we transition into the golden age, which is the golden ratio that opens up the golden gate that is connected to the silver key and the golden key. Jack and Boaz, the 2 pillars of masonry, as you go through the halls of Amenti, which is basically equated to the ascension processes by going from 3rd density to 5th density, right? AKA new heaven, new earth. Now, this is happening during the Jubilee year. It happens during the increments of 5. Now, one thing you got to understand about the Jubilee year, the last time we had a Jubilee year was in the year 2000, right? And then, like I said, everything operates on the cycle of a cycle. There's a pattern. There's a pattern within the simulation, and it operates in quarters, right? So the last time we had a Jubilee year was in the year of 2000. And we also, before that, was in 1975. And then during that time period in 1975, that's when you had the year after in 1976, because every time the year after a Jubilee year, what happens is there's always some type of mass calamity. So in 1975, and you go to 1976, there was a big earthquake in China, measuring between 7.8 and 8.2 on a Richter scale, destroyed the Chinese city of Tangshan. So it said this is basically the toll of how many people that were basically unalive 242,000 persons were basically unalive, basically high as 655,000. And they said that at least 700,000 were basically injured, right? And property damage extensive, reaching even to Beijing. So in 1975, we had a Jubilee year. 1976, this earthquake happened. Because every time you have a Jubilee year, you transition a year later, that's when the transition happens, right? That is the transition to basically create under a Hegelian dialectic principle, problem, reaction, solution. And the solution a lot of times is basically diabolical because they basically have to operate the system in a form of control to where they can basically neutralize you. Now, the last time, like I said, everything, as I was telling you before, everything operates in cycles. The last time we had a Jubilee year was in the year of 2000. And the next year after that, in 2001, we had 9/11, right? You can't make this up. You got to pay attention to the patterns, because when you pay attention to the patterns, you will know intuitively what the hell is going on. If you do not pay attention to the patterns, if you're not good at understanding and comprehending simulations, right? One thing you understand, you got to understand the energy of, their propagations of their psychological operations, whether it's being extracted from nature or if it's something that's coming from the deep state shadow government. One thing you got to understand is that everything, whether it's through nature or if it's being orchestrated, everything operates in cycles. That's how a simulation works. A simulation basically denotes the fact that everything is basically pixelated, which is a Planck, which is basically the smallest unit in the universe. We are basically living in a video game. Everything has structure. Everything has a logistical order. Everything has a cycle, right? So this is why the last Jubilee year we had in 2000, when everybody thought the world was going to end, but it's basically the end of a system or end of an ideology or end of an age. And then 2001 was the big transitional period. That was a big ritual. That was a gold heist that took place, just like, Rod Hayes was basically propagating about, right? Shout out to Rod Hayes and shout out to Young Elder. Shout out to my boys. But that's why, like I said, it's imperative to understand the time that we're living in, because we're due for mass calamity. This is why you got to watch the last video I put out talking about the 7 thunders, right? Because the 7 thunders is going to be activated in the 9th year of the Jubilee year of 2025, right? The amount of information that I came across, putting together this video is scary. It's very scary. And I ain't trying to fear monger. It's so scary in a prophetic way, because it's like one of those things you come to a realization like, damn, I'm really living in this time. We are really in that 7-year tribulation right now.
Appreciate the love.
I don't care what you say. Like, you can say, you can cut, you can create any type of defense mechanism all you want, but you cannot negate the fact that everything is, taking place right now. None of this stuff has never been done before, right? None of this stuff has never been done before. None of this stuff has never been seen before. You got UFOs all over the place, congressional hearings about UFOs talking about extraterrestrials are real, people really have contact, and then you got these rituals going on, right? And then you got the third temple in Jerusalem being built up. This is all prophecy, right? And it's a form of prophetic divination that can also be orchestrated. Because one thing you got to understand about the Vatican also has a fifth dimensional technology. It's called a Chronos Visor. And a Chronos Visor has the ability to basically create a fractal interstellar vortex portal to take you to different dimensional realities, whether it's the past, the present, or the future. And you can see the timeline, and a lot of times that's where they extract their information, and they basically create this simulation that's based on the holographic technology of the Chronos Visor, right? But back to, kind of got thrown off a little bit, but back to, like I said, everything operates in 25-year increments on a Jubilee year. So the last Jubilee year that we had was in 2000. 1 year later, you had 9/11. So that was the transitional shift. And after that, that's when you had that Great Depression, not the Great Depression, but we had a recession in 2008. Now, like I said, now we're in our Jubilee year. So in between the times of 2025, because I told you that the year 2025 is the year of the cosmic serpent. The cosmic serpent is the dark matter energy of the etheric network that's connected to the 13th zodiac wheel of the energy of Ophiuchus, which is basically going to create the gateway of the gods that is basically amalgamated with the Orion star constellation and the Sirius A and B star constellation, right? And that is going to create this form of a golden gate, because the energy of Ophiuchus is basically the epitome of your so-called Christ walking on water, right? And the Christ energy is the regeneration fire, the spinal fire that sits at the base of the spine, and it travels up the 33rd vertebrae, and it hits the 34th ventricle of the brain, and then it activates the crown chakra of the hexadecimal number of the 144,000, which is basically an energy that creates a tetrahedron that to where you become a whole brain thinker. You activate right knowledge and you amalgamate it with left brain thinking to where you become a balanced individual. So this is the time of Mayat. This is the time of balancement. So if your heart and your mind is not in sync, you're not going to be able to get through the gateway of the gods, because you don't have the sigil of the Most High on your forehead, which is basically a tetrahedron, right? And that tetrahedron is an emerald energy, which is why I have on green. We in that time period. This is the activation of the green Ethereal energy, your ethereal state, because like I said, your ethereal state is connected to the spiritual state. This is why you see in the house of cards starting to fall. So this is why it's imperative to understand that the Golden Gate, this is an energy that's going to be erected during this time period. We just had an earthquake in California in the ocean that almost created a tsunami, because this is all going to line up to the big one, because the Golden Gate is going to create this energy once they have this Jubilee year, right? Once we have the Jubilee year, right? So now back to this. Now Pope Francis and Dark Priesthood of the Vatican Church will open up 5 spiritual portals starting Christmas Eve that are a part of a Roman Catholic Church rituals date back to the 1300s. So a lot of this stuff was erected during the time of Pope Sylvester, right? That is also connected to the principles of the Papal Bull, which is basically a branch of necromancy, right? We're going to get into that also. So the Jubilee year rituals, which involve holy doors, occur every 25 years. The doors are located in the Vatican in Rome. Now, the Catholic Church condemned necromancy as a form of demonic magic and heresy, harshly punished those who practice it. Here are some of the papal bulls and other documents related to necromancy and witchcraft, right? So you get, like I said, this is all connected, because this ritual is trying to summon an energy of Lucifer to basically control the simulation. They lost their control because nature's taking back the planet, right? You know what I'm saying? You basically fucked up the ecosystem and the ecology of the planet. You pulled all the resources and the minerals, and now you mad that nature's basically fighting back. So this is why they doing all these damn rituals, right? So this is why they doing all these rituals that's connected to the Papal Bull in 1326. This bull described as a pestilential plague spread by Christians who sacrificed to demons and made pacts with hell, right? Which is a form of a Faustian bargain, which is AKA selling your soul to the devil, right? Which is signing over your nature, your ethereal state to demonic forces or archonic forces, which are basically draconian reptilian or cherubim or the negative factions of the 200 fallen angels. So this is why, like I said, it's a form of Faustian bargain. So this is why you see the Pope politicking with a draconian, a contract, a brief, a covenant. A covenant is basically a pact that you made with a demonic entity, right? To basically have temporal control and power over a certain demographic or over a certain civilization, but they lost their power. So this is why they're doing the incantation in a necropolis of the Vatican to summon the energy of Lucifer, right? To basically destabilize nature to get the power back, but it's not going to work, right? It's not going to work. We all know that. We already won in the future, but like I said, we must get through the ugly desolation process, and we must face all these afflictions as we get to the, the victory lap, basically. Shout out to Nipsey Hussle. So now, the papal bull is a type of a public decree, a public service announcement that basically letters patent and charter, right? So this is what you're looking at, an emulation of, the papal bull documents the military ordinances that's connected to the seals of the papal bull, right? Now, this is what I found very interesting about the papal bull, because as you can see, like I told you, the Golden Gate is basically the epitome of the lunar light lock frequency that's connected to the silver key. Silver key, golden key, physical plane, spiritual plane. So this is why you see the two keys, because the keys are basically the golden gates. It's the gate to other dimensional realities, right? So this is why they're doing witchcraft, because the witchcraft in itself that's connected to it is basically the epitome of the 5 P's of Luciferianism, which is based on the penile system, philosophy, psychology, polytheism, and the blueprint of patriarchy, right? That's what the Baphomet symbol that's connected to the Vatican, that's connected to the Knights of Templar, right? Because Baphomet used to be called Mophamet. Mophamet is connected to the energy of the moon, right? Which is basically connected to the material plane, because Mophet came from Mohammedanism, which is basically the blackamoor, black nobility that gave edification to the Knights of Templar, that is also a branch of the Vatican Church in the dark priesthood of it, right? So this is why the 5 P's of Luciferianism is the penile system, philosophy, psychology, polytheism, and patriarchy, right? So this is why you see the Pope standing next to that. Now, there's a traditional right to demolish the wall protecting a holy door held at St. Petersburg. And this is basically, like I said, it's in Rome. And I'm going to show you a video that basically demonstrates that. I'm going to show the video now. So hold on for a second. I told you I got a new way how I show videos to you guys now. So bear with me. Okay. We're going to share. Okay. Now I'm gonna show the video. So this is basically gonna show you everything that I basically just read. They breaking down that door. They already broke down the doorway to get the key to unlock those so-called portals. They putting it right in your face, and people still don't believe it. UFOs flying all over the place. They doing rituals to basically save this 3-dimensional illusion, to summon the energy of Lucifer to rock you right back to sleep, right? They want to rock you right back to sleep. So this is right. What you're looking at right now is the opening of the Holy Door Jubilee in 1975. So they're also going to put, I think they're supposed to be putting this on national television during the time period, on Christmas Eve or whatever. So this is what took place in 1975. Because back during that time period, it was only 4 doors. It wasn't 5. And mind you, we also can't negate. Hold on for a second. That they just found that Coca-Cola truck. They just found all those kids on there, right? We can't negate that. So back to the presentation, because like I said, the system is basically falling. right? Everything is getting exposed. All those people that been, stealing, our little people, shipping them out in these containers and things of that nature, all this stuff is basically being, revealed for a reason. We in that 7-year tribulation. Now, remember I told you, now look at the keys right here. This is the keys on the papal bull, the document, right? Now when you're talking about the St. Petersburg door, to open up that doorway to basically summon the energy of Lucifer, you got the keys at the top right here. Silver key, golden key that creates the golden gate, right? So how you know that this ritual is not going to create a calamity in San Francisco? Got to be very critical. Like I said, Illuminati, I'm on to you. I'm going to find out your secrets every time. I'm going to put together these receipts. That's why it's imperative for people to share this video, share all my videos, and start screenshotting this stuff. Because like I said, I'm on y'all ass. I'm going to find out. That's one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to find out, and I'm going to get the receipts lined up. Symbolism is going to be their downfall. So look at the keys. Silver key, golden key. Right? This is one of the doors that's going to be open. Silver key, golden key. Just like the one that was on the papal bull. Now you look at this. Golden key, silver key that is connected to the galactical plane that opens up the galactic sender for the Golden Gate. How you know this is not a ritual to create the big one, the earthquake in California that's going to make the Golden Gate Bridge collapse? Because I told you the root chakra of planet Earth is in California, right? And that root chakra, when you activate the Kundalini serpent of the cosmic year of 2025, that's the year of the serpent. That's the year of the Kundalini energy. So that means that the root chakra has to wake up first. So that basically denotes the fact that the next big calamity after the Jubilee year is going to be in California. That's going to be the big one. That's going to be the transitional period. That is going to be the next 9/11. I guarantee it. That's how I feel about it. I'm that confident because I'm that confident just based on my independent research, right? Just based on my independent research. I'm that confident because, like I said, I showed you that the seismologists, they said that within the next 2 years, the big one's going to happen. We in that time period, but that's going to be the big one. And then the next one is going to be the new Madrid fault line. So please watch that video that I just put out 4 or 5 days ago, right? Watch the last transmission. It basically lines up with this one, right? So the silver key, golden key. Now, this is very interesting. I stumbled across this as I was doing my research. You see the silver key and the golden key, and this is the Pope, right? And he's holding a staff with multiple it's a crucifix with multiple crosses on it, right? So the silver key and the golden key. It's basically denoting the fact that, and then you got the number 5, so and he's supposed to be opening up 5 doors. So the Hierophant, which is basically the emulation of the Pope, is also the 5th card, and he's supposed to be opening 5 doors. Can't make this up. You see the 5 at the top right here, where my cursor is. You see the 5, and he's supposed to be opening up 5 doors. You can't make this up. 5 sacred portals. Like I said, the simulation is already mapped out. Everything is already premeditated, baby. It's up to you to understand the symbolism in the codex, because the way I'm breaking this down, ain't nobody going to bring it to you. So that's why it's imperative to understand the symbolism. You got to understand sigilcism. When you understand the symbols, you ain't going to be tricked. You're already going to know what time it is. So this is why I tell people, get your ass up out of California. It's time to go. So we're going to break down the codex of the card, the tarot card, right? So you got the sign of the Holy Trinity, which is basically that staff that looks like a Duce logo, which is also why you see in the fall of Jay-Z. That's interesting. Now, don't this, like, you see where my cursor, you see the staff right here with the crucifix that represents the Holy Trinity. That looks like a Duce bottle. So that's why, like I said, everything that's connected to the factions of the plutocracy and the elite and the oligarchs that's connected to the dark priesthood of the Vatican, everything is basically starting to fall. That's why everything is getting exposed in real time. You got to pay attention to the signs, right? So, it basically this card represents open knowledge, spiritual authority, change, which is a transitional period, which is an interface transition, a glitch within the simulation that's going to be taking place, right? So this is the time we're living in. Then it basically is the emulation of the bridge between heaven and hell. That's why I said new heaven, new earth. Revelations chapter 21, verse 1, new heaven, new earth, right? We in that time period. The shift is here, right? And we ain't just saying that. Then you see the keys right here, the holy door, St. Peter's, Rome. Silver key, golden key. You can't make this up, baby. I got all the receipts. The pilgrimage to the holy doors is a central act of the Jubilee. Passing through them holy years symbolizes the entry to the new life in Christ consciousness. You can't activate the Christ consciousness unless you activate the Kundalini serpent within you. 9-year cosmic serpent, which is the year 2025, which is basically the beginning journey of the conversion process of the cosmic convergence of the 144,000, right? Which is basically a form of unity consciousness, which is basically going to take the three-dimensional state to a mental state, the mental plane of the magnetosphere, right? Which is why Magneto had the helmet on. That basically is a symbolism to denote the fact that, higher states of consciousness basically denotes the fact that you're in the fifth dimensional civilization. This is why they want to use artificial intelligence to combat the energy with Neuralink, right? Because God is the highest extension of the mind, which uses the elements of matter to express itself. And when you're able to express yourself, you're able to materialize your reality that basically is detached from their system, right? Now, this is like another thing. This is these don't have the keys, but this is another door that's going to be open. I'm showing you some of the doors that's going to be open. Now you're looking at the necropolis. This is necropolis at the Vatican basement. This is the blueprint and the layout, right? Now you see my cursor right here moving. Now we're going to go down here to U. When you see the letter U, it's showing you Lucifer. This is where the great majority, this is where the first door is going to be at when you're talking about the 5 portals are supposed to be opened up. It's supposed to be on the location of U, where my cursor is right here. And that is the room of Lucifer, where Lucifer is basically, they said he's basically, his body is basically there. So they say. So Tomb U of the necropolis is actually the entrance to Lucifer's regime, Lucifer's area, basically. So Tomb U is actually the tomb of Lucifer. So that's why you look at the necropolis. It says it right here. So why would Lucifer be buried? That's one thing you got to pagan people. I keep telling y'all, step away from the religion. The Pope is a viscera of all religion, meaning that he controls the great majority of monotheistic religion, because the monotheistic religion is connected to a form of Freemasonry. So that's why in Freemasonry, it doesn't matter what religion you follow, because all of it is a form of Luciferianism, right? So why does the Vatican have the tomb of Lucifer in the Vatican necropolis in the basement? Because a necropolis is where you do incantations, black magic, necromancy to summon the energy of Lucifer. That's why they hold in all these portals. So Tomb U is Tomb Lucifer, right? The Tomb of Lucifer. And this is in a picture of it right here. That's the Tomb of Lucifer. They have a flag with Lucifer on it. He has the cherubim wings, right? Draconian wings, gargoyle wings. And he's on the white horse, right? Behold a pale horse. Shout out to William Cooper. He was, one of the best books I ever read. That was one of the books that got me on my path. That was one of the first books that I actually read that sparked, a little bit of my awakening. I read that book when I was a senior in high school, right? And I always use that book as a reference point. Now, you also, like I said, yes, Lucifer's tomb is a heavily protected area in hell designed to imprison Lucifer, encased in a special sarcophagus with seals that can only be broken by a specific event. And what's that event? That's that Jubilee year. That Jubilee year to activate the 5 portals. The 5 portals, the demonic portals of Luciferianism. It's believed to be located beneath the 9th circle of hell. There go that number 9. 2025 is the 9th year. The 9th year of the cosmic circle. The year of the activation of the 9 ether energy, right? Gamma radiation particles manipulating the photon-like spectrum, the illusion of Lucifer, because they know during this time period we're going to be seers, right? So don't see. This is why, how you know that this ritual is not going to create a form of pestilence, right? Because I did see something that says something about pestilence. Said something about pestilence. It was a ritual. Let me see. Because I know we're on the verge of another lockdown. Because they got to neutralize us in order to create that technocrat dystopia, a police state. Yes, the papal bull. So this bull described a pestilential plague. Like I said, it's a form of pestilence spread by the Christians who sacrifice to demons. So how you know that this ritual is not going to create a form of pestilence? Because I told you, the manipulation of the 2 physical eyes to rock you back to sleep, that is also your esoteric version of Lucifer, right? Because like I said, God is the highest extension of the mind, which uses elements and matter to express itself. They trying to rock you right back to sleep because they don't want you to see, because solar cycle 25 is the apex of the spiritual plane, right? Because those gamma radiation particles is basically going to blur the lines between the 3rd dimension and the 5th dimension. You're going to start to see apparitions. This is why the Vatican, when they came out with that article and they said that they're prepared to see apparitions, they're preparing us for this time period because they know that everything on the planet is starting to activate the ephro energy, right? So, like I said, it's a place where they do necromancy. So you got to understand what a true necromancer is, right? Everything that they do within the factions of the Vatican and stuff like that, like I said, everything is a form of necromancy. So screenshot this for those who don't understand the occult information and ideologies of necromancy, right? Because you got to understand that necromancers are basically like warlocks and wizards who study necromancy, observe nothing other than the facts of death and the mechanics of umbral energy, which is a form of orgon energy in a realm that can basically use their advantage of, meaning that they're using the necrotic powers and the energies to basically summon demons to get edification, power, knowledge about the future, right? So this is why the 7 heads are the 7 hills, which sits on the woman, the restoration of the matriarch. Now I'm going to go over, I'm going to give a brief synopsis about everything. For those coming in, I'm going to give a real quick brief synopsis about what's going on. Now the Pope and the Dark Priesthood of the Vatican, they're opening up 5 portals. It used to be 4, but they're opening up 5. Because the 5 are basically the emulation of the sigil of Lucifer. Screenshot this, right? So these, where you see the green marks, these are the 5 locations of where they're going to have the doorways opened up, which creates the sigil system of Lucifer, right? Which is also equated to the no-fly zone in Antarctica, which creates the sigil system of Lucifer. So that means that this sigil system, this doorway that's going to be opened up by the Pope and the Dark Priesthood of the Vatican, is basically going to unlock Lucifer in Lucifer's palace in Antarctica, because that's where Lucifer's palace is basically is in Antarctica. That's why you have the emulation of the no-fly zone that creates the Khazarian Tamga, which is also a form of a Ukrainian crest. That's why the Canaanites are part of the factions of the ones that was basically cursed with leprosy, because they're basically a derivative of the draconian entities, which is also known as your cherubim of the Bible, because they are basically fallen angels, right? They're a derivative. They're a cursed seed, right? And this is why they create the system to take away your privileges and your sovereign capacity, right? So they have temporal power. So this is why they're doing these rituals. The rituals is basically to create the doorway of holy salvation in order to save the system, because they know that their time is up. So this is why they fear destruction of their system. Now, like I said, salvation, and it's happening during the Jubilee year. And you got to understand something. Everything operates in increments. The last time in 1975, when you had a Jubilee year in 1975, in 1976, the next year, you had a big earthquake. In that earthquake, unalive 242,000 people, and at least 700,000 people were basically injured. And then also the last Jubilee year that we had in the year 2000, the next year after that, you had 9/11. So our Jubilee year is in 2025. So that means that this could possibly be the end of the Golden Gate Bridge, or some type of event, which is the big one that FEMA is being preparing for, which is why it's not a coincidence that Donald Trump, he signed that National Emergency Declaration, Emergency Act, to where it gives full validity to FEMA to activate martial law, which is why the great majority of our police officers in a police state, they have secret United Nations uniforms, right? A lot of people don't know that. So you can activate martial law when the planet is in a state of calamity. So they opening up these doors. It's connected to the papal bull. So the sigil system of the golden key and the silver key is all there, right? So for those, like I said, coming in, a lot of people watch this channel. Thanks for watching this channel. But you don't subscribe to the channel. So subscribe to the channel. Stop, like I said, stop being a monitoring spirit and support people who is giving you authentic and true information. We just here trying to make sense for people. I mean, I'm not going to have all the answers, so just use me as a pillar, as a puzzle piece to collaborate with another puzzle piece, because everybody is doing their own work. You got, many different truth speakers. Everybody has a piece. Everybody is not, I see a lot of people in the conscious community, they try to create this like a savior complex. It's not that deep. Everybody has a piece to the puzzle. Not everybody is chosen, but certain individuals are chosen to give the edification out to the masses, right? we all must come together. We all must Voltron together. People have to stop all this hating and beefing and all this other stuff. It's a low vibrational energy. And, this is why anytime people trying to, acclimate me to certain energies or whatever, I just kind of deviate from it, because I'm a very reserved individual or whatever. And, I didn't come on this to, what I'm saying, don't treat the conscious community like it's like the rap industry. You know what I'm saying? It's just, we all here to, bring information, and the information is supposed to awaken the masses, right? That's the only, that's the main criteria about everything. That's the main criteria. That should be, the primary resource of our evolution. Everybody should just be, speaking truth to power, right? Because like I said, over the course of time, the chosen ones, like I said, we're gonna awaken even more. And what's going to take place in the year 2025, what's going to be taking place in the year 2025, that is going to spark another awakening, right? Because like I said, a lot of people went through an awakening period, but this is going to cause another awakening. It's going to force you to evolve. It's going to force you to adapt, right? And a lot of times you must face degradation and calamity in order to reach that apex and reach that reality. And because, like I said, the transitional period of everything, because like I said, everything is a form of spiritual metamorphosis. So if you cannot deviate and detach from everything that's connected to a form of third density, what's going to happen is when the three-dimensional world basically falls, you're going to fall with it, because you have an emotional connection with it. That's why you must create an emotional connection within yourself. Everything is basically internal. It's in me, not on me, right? You're supposed to use the matrix in order to get out. You're supposed to use the matrix in order to evolve. That's why everything on this planet is being used in a form of an experience. You're supposed to experience certain things and then use it as an alchemical resource to evolve, to put you in a state of evolution to reach your higher self, your Zohar body. So that's why you have many different, afflictions within our simulation. It's supposed to force you to do some type of self-realization to where you tap into your higher self. It's supposed to force you, right? That's why we live in this dualistic paradox. This is why you got good, you got evil, you got rich, you got poor. You know what I'm saying? Because true chosen people, a lot of times we face, a lot of implications. And the reason that is because nothing ever works out for us, because we're supposed to evolve. A lot of us, we get stuck in cycles, but you're supposed to evolve past that cycle. That's why you go through so much trauma. That's why you go through, whether you're losing a job, a house, or anything. You go through that because it's supposed to force an awakening. And once you awaken, that's when you're going to reap the benefits of everything that you deserve from the universe, basically. But you must awaken first. And then you awaken to another state and another state. So that's where we at with the system. So for those watching this channel, get the video out there, share this video. Thanks for watching my channel. End of transmission.
10:14.
To be looking at some disturbing videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get today's video. Now, as you can see, a lot of times I do use the word disturbing, and to be fair, people have asked me why do I always use a certain word in titles. For whatever reason, when I try to mix it up or use other words, other phrases, I get put into algorithms that I don't want to be in, like cat videos or people eating food. Whether I use the words creepy, scary, mysterious, or even if the title completely matches what's in the video, the results are the same. And if I use the word disturbing, then the algorithm latches on and it sends me to where I need to go. I don't know why. I reached out to YouTube support, but I'm waiting to hear back. So until some kind of fix happens, I'm going to keep it the same and keep it simple. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter because all these stories are basically just that, disturbing. But anyway, with all these strange news stories coming out, with all these mysterious sightings, with all these different things going on around the world that make absolutely no sense whatsoever, and we are getting no real answers from the government or the powers that be, the real question happens to be, what is CERN doing? What is CERN up to? Are they cranking up that old Large Hadron Collider, the particle accelerator? Because things have gotten absolutely strange. Well, I looked into it and come to find out, CERN has actually discovered magic. It's true. They discovered magic. CERN is like that child where they did something wrong or they did something bad when they've been quiet for some time and you go to check in on them and come to find out they did some absolutely wild stuff. So I haven't covered CERN in weeks, and the first time that I do, they apparently discover magic. But let's go ahead and see what's going on. Apparently, supposedly, this is not your hocus pocus type of magic, but at the end of the day, do we really know? Because these are occultists. Let us go ahead and read this article by SciTech Daily, which was published on December 21st, 2024. The title of this article happens to be, Scientists Just Discovered Magic at the Large Hadron Collider. It goes on to say that researchers at the Large Hadron Collider have found that top quarks exhibit a property known as magic, which could advance quantum computing. When have you ever heard a scientist use the word magic or a scientific discovery involving magic? And I've said this once before that CERN, they are using certain words and they are using certain phrases at the end of these words to make it sound more scientific. Like they will call their particles, what they are researching, demons, gods, specters, ghosts, and so forth. but they'll always use the word particle at the end to make it sound more scientific. Like the story I covered where CERN themselves stated that when they fired up the Large Hadron Collider, a fourth dimensional ghost, a fourth dimensional specter, had crossed over. But again, they called it a neutrino, a ghost particle, to once again make it sound more scientific. But here, straight up, they are saying they discovered magic, but the definition of this magic makes it seem more scientific. Continuing to read from the article, it says, a brotherly research duo has discovered that when the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC, produces top quarks, the heaviest known fundamental particles, it regularly creates a property known as magic. This finding, published in Physical Review D, has implications for the progression of quantum computing, with magic being a measure that describes how difficult a quantum system is for a non-quantum computer to calculate. The higher the magic, the more we need quantum computers to describe the behavior. Later in this video, I will get into a very interesting article that does get into quantum computers, but this was explained by Professor Martin White from the University of Adelaide School of Physics, Chemistry, and Earth Sciences, who co-led the study with his twin brother, Professor Chris White, a physicist from the Queen Mary University of London. And he goes on to state that studying the magic properties of quantum systems generates significant insights into the development and potential uses of quantum computers. So while we thought CERN was quiet and not doing anything, they were discovering this magic with the Large Hadron Collider to empower quantum computers, to advance them. And I personally believe that quantum computers, quantum technology, is fallen angel technology, fallen technology. Now you may be saying, you have lost me here. You think all technology is bad and evil, and no, I don't. I am a fan of technology. But just listen to how Geordie Rose, the father of D-Wave quantum computers, describes this technology. It is not normal.
Steve Jurvetson has been a longtime friend and investor in the company. And for those of you who don't know him, he's a Silicon Valley investor who's probably the smartest VC that I know of, and certainly the one that's the most attuned to technological trends. He's on the board of SpaceX, Tesla, Synthetic Genomics, which is Craig Venter's company that's trying to build artificial life, and D-Wave, and that's it. And this is his particularly poetic way of framing the difference between the machines we build and conventional computers. This is what they look like. There are two of them. These are from our lab in Burnaby in British Columbia. From the outside, they look like giant black monoliths, big metal boxes, about 10 feet on a side, 12 feet tall. And they are powered, they have a fridge inside them, a refrigerator that cools these chips to almost absolute zero. Just a wisp, a fraction of a degree above absolute zero. Hundreds of times colder than interstellar space. Amongst the coldest and most isolated and extreme conditions that humans have ever been able to engineer. These fridges, interestingly enough, which are called pulse tube dilution refrigerators, have a thing called a pulse tube, which emits a sound roughly once per second, which sounds eerily like a heartbeat. So if you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines. At the heart of this big box is a tiny chip about the size of your thumbnail. And on this chip resides all of the wonder and magic that makes this thing go. I'm not going to describe in any mathematical detail how it all works, but let me give you an analogy. In quantum mechanics, there's this concept that a thing can exist in two states which are mutually exclusive at the same time, quote unquote. And I'm using those words because the English language was developed before we had concepts to describe what these things actually are doing. But I'm going to give you a roundabout way of understanding this. Imagine that there really are parallel universes out there. And now imagine you have two that are exactly identical in every respect, all the way out to the horizon as far as we can see, down to the last little atomic detail of every single thing, with only one difference. And that's the value of a little thing called a qubit on this chip, which is a contraction of quantum bit. And that qubit is very much like a bit or a transistor in a conventional computer. It has two distinct physical states, which we call 0 and 1 for bit. In a conventional computer, these are mutually exclusive. That device is either one or the other, never anything else. In a quantum computer, that device can be in this strange situation where these two parallel universes have a nexus, a point in space where they overlap. And when you increase the number of these devices, every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to, until such time when you get to a chip like this, which has about 500 of these bits, you have something like 2 to the 500th power of these guys living in that chip. So the way I think about it is that the shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours. And if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world. Now, this may sound very odd to you and bizarre, and in fact, I am using language that a normal theoretical physicist probably wouldn't use, but this is, what I'm telling you is absolutely correct and in line with the way that these things actually work.
So besides the fact that he describes these things as black monoliths and an altar to an alien god, and how you can hear a heartbeat, and how these things need cold that we can't even comprehend, temperatures we can't even comprehend to operate, besides all of that, he also states that they are going into parallel universes to grab information, to take things and bring them back to our dimension, bring them back to our universe. Nothing about that is just normal everyday technology. And when they say parallel universes, what they really mean are these higher and lower dimensions. Again, that's where I get the point of fallen technology, fallen angel technology. That's probably what they use to communicate with these beings and to trade information back and forth. CERN is just one part of the puzzle. All of these organizations are occultists together. CERN, D-Wave, NASA, and so forth. Even the Vatican, who out of nowhere said they will be opening a portal, and that was the Pope's own words. He decreed that he will be opening a portal to a prison around Christmas. And you have to remember, a lot of these scientists that are in CERN, they come straight from the Vatican. I did a video about a few months ago where there were news articles coming out, mainly from the Vatican, where they were sending their own scientists from their own observatory over to CERN, and CERN was bringing their scientists over to the Vatican. And they went on to state how a lot of these scientists inside of CERN are from the Vatican. The Vatican, they send their scientists, the scientists do their research and experiments, they get the results, and they bring it right back to the Vatican. The Vatican has their own observatory with a telescope called Lucifer. When I originally covered this story, the very first time I covered the story of the Vatican opening this holy sacred door at St. Peter's Basilica, out of nowhere, a few weeks later, the holy sacred door turned into 5 holy sacred portals. Just out of nowhere, the Pope just started using the word portal. Now, and again, for the very first time in history, and they have these jubilees every 25 years. From what I understand, it should be every 50 years, but they have these jubilees every 25 years. And this is the first time they have ever done this ceremony, this portal ceremony at this prison. But like I was saying, it's not just CERN, it's these other organizations as well, including Google. When this discovery was made at CERN, as coincidence may have it, around the same time, there was a major breakthrough involving quantum computers at Google. This article was published on December 12, 2024 by The Mirror, and this article is titled, "Google Claims It Has Discovered Staggering Proof We Live in a Multiverse," and it's all thanks to this quantum computer chip called Willow. So basically, there is a computation so difficult to solve, it would take even today's supercomputers, fastest supercomputers, 10 septillion years to solve. And while this quantum computer, this quantum chip, solved it in less than 5 minutes. So because of how lightning fast this equation was solved by this quantum chip, this quantum computer, they are saying there is absolutely no way it could have been done just by our universe timescale alone. It had to involve other parallel universes. So just look at the timing of everything. We have, again, CERN coming out saying they found this magic that will empower quantum computers. And at the same time, Google is stating that their Willow can solve things in ways that they can't even comprehend, to the point they have to state that other universes must be involved. But I guess it's just outside the realm of possibility that they are playing with other dimensions and entities and beings that they shouldn't be playing with. Let's not forget that CERN has stated that they have found 6 other dimensions and they will be exploring these other dimensions. And at the same time, these things are crossing over, which they call higher dimensional ghost particles. And all these organizations, they go hand in hand together. But at the end of the day, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.
Malachi Martin and others have talked about that at some point in the 60s, there was some sort of enthronement of Satan or diabolical infiltration. I hint at it in my book, Infiltration, but I don't go too far on it because I don't know the details. That something happened in the Vatican where you have Freemasons, occultists, whatever you want to call these people. They're definitely under the influence of Satan, enthroning Satan. Now, what does that mean? You know, you talk about people can be possessed, animals, right, can have demons in them, places, homes. What does it mean to enthrone?
So basically, to enthrone Satan in a particular location basically means it's the inversion of, like, for example, the enthronement of the Sacred Heart or the Immaculate Heart. And so basically what you're doing is you're setting him up as the ruler or king or principality or power in that particular location. And so you're doing a specific ritual which empowers him so that he can influence those in the region or in the area, basically, is essentially what it is. And you yourself are taking him as your ruler or guide in that context. So that's the actual structure of it.
As I understand it, Satanists do this in all kinds of geographies, right? They're taking up space.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways they do it. One is they do the enthronements. The other thing is they open up. It's very difficult. It takes. I've only seen it happen a few times in my own coming across these things personally. Doesn't mean they're not happening more often. It's just that I've only had to deal with them twice. And that is what they call opening up a portal, which is the inversion of the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church is it's the gateway to heaven, right? And so from there, graces flow to the region or the area. And a portal is the inversion of that, where they do a particular kind of a ritual and it empowers the demons to influence people in the area and in the region. And so it takes a certain level of individual involved in the occult to be able to pull that off. I've known people who have tried to do it, but they've never been able to do it. But I've also known some people that were able to do it. But these were very high level people involved in the occult. That's two ways in which you can actually empower Satan in a particular location so that he can influence the people there or the various things that are there too.
If I were Satan, I would want to be enthroned at the Vatican. That'd be my front row seat.
Yeah, exactly. That reference in Malachi Martin's books, Windswept House, there's without getting into too much of the details and stuff that would be sensationalized, there has been more than one source that has come out and confirmed what is contained in that book. Even the bishop in South Carolina, where the ritual took place, because it was done by a form of projection, even where the ritual took place, the bishop there did research, found out it was true, and then reconsecrated the church. So there is, because the information was in the archives. And so this is one of those things that, again, without getting too sensationalized, I think it gives us an indicator that it would be naive. Let me just put it this way. It would be naive for people in the church to not think that the primary target of the Satanists wouldn't be the Vatican. I mean, they're just going to go after it to the degree that they can.
Yeah, in war, you go for the capital city.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I've heard not say Father Ripperger, but other exorcists have said, yes, something like this happened in the 60s. Would you want to comment on that or not?
Again, some of this stuff we kind of know what it is, and other things we don't have absolute certitude about it, all the details, etc. But we do know that something happened. We know something happened in the early 60s, and it's based primarily on what other exorcists had said. So if you listen to the exorcists talking that were doing exorcisms in the 70s and 80s, who had been doing them for some time, they talk about the fact that something happened in the life of the church in which the time it took to liberate people went from, usually once you got faculties, it was a day or two, sometimes a week. Those were pretty difficult. The case that was in St. Louis, originally starting in DC, but ended up in outside of St. Louis, where they processed it, took 59 days, was almost unheard of in that day and age. But they would go very quickly. An exorcist said that something happened because it was like a light switch. It went from things, you just kick these demons out. It wasn't that much. I mean, you still had to do some work, but they got out pretty easily, and it didn't take that long to all of a sudden, boom, now it took 8 months to 2 years. And so there's this shift that happened in the power that the demons actually had was marked. And so there's all sorts of speculation about what would have caused that, etc. Some exorcists hold that it had to do with that particular event, which Malachi Martins talks about. It's obviously talked about in the context of a fictional work, but as I mentioned, there's been, and you can get them right online, so I'm not saying it's conspiracy theory, I'm not saying anything that's not known publicly. A lot of people may not know about it, but you can go right online and find out about there's several other sources that verified that this particular thing happened. I have never had a chance to talk to those older guys, most of them because they're mostly dead now, but it would have been nice to be able to find out exactly timeline. Did they notice a shift? Because then that would give us some kind of confirmation or not that this was actually the cause of it.
Because if I understand correctly, the power of exorcism does not come necessarily per se from the exorcist.
Right.
It comes from the power of Holy Mother Church.
Correct.
The penance, the fasting, the faith, the health of the ecclesia, of the one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. So if you have a weak church, you have a weaker exorcism. Is that too crude, or is that about accurate?
No, that's actually the exorcists, even in Rome recently, have been talking about that and stressing the reality of the fact that when you do exorcisms, first of all, what you're doing is you're acting on behalf of the church as a public agent, as an exorcist. So the effect is actually based upon the state of the church. So that's one of the reasons. It's obviously not ex opere operato, because if it was, then you just do the prayer and boom, they'd be out. And so they say, and it's not ex opere operantis in relationship to the priest, even though his sanctity can have some impact. Also, I talk about it in the book that the more experienced the exorcist is, very often the more rapidly he can get demons out, but that's not always the case in each case. So there can be an element of that. But they say it's ex opere operantis ecclesiae, which is from the church that's doing it, right? So it's basically the state of the church will have an impact on how effective the exorcisms are actually going to be. So we do know there's something in the church that seems to have resulted in it being somewhat compromised. It still has the authority from God. It still has these things. The demons still have to obey, etc. But there's something that's been somewhat compromised as a result, and as a result, it's taking us longer to get them out.
Dr. Mumbi Spirituals. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. So the Pope has announced that he's opening 4 sacred doors, basically 5 portals on December 25th during the Christmas Eve celebrations for whatever, Christ, whatever. I mean, by now you should know that Jesus was not born on the 25th, like for real. And he's opening them in 5 different cathedrals around the Vatican, which is extremely important. Now, a lot of people have been saying that these are probably portals to like other worlds, or he's allowing in the beast, or they're preparing for the Antichrist, or the man of sin or man of perdition or whatever. But what's interesting is that they actually do this every 25 years, just before the year of Jubilee. So if we realize that the Vatican is actually an energy center, it means that they're opening up energetic doors in order to harvest the energy from the year of Jubilee. So I don't think any demons or whatever, the demons are already here. The devil is already here. The man of perdition is already here. But they're opening up these portals so that they can open up the energy centers to either harvest good or bad energy. Now, we know there's been a lot of rumors that World War III is going to start next year, and there's going to be a lot going on next year. But what's interesting also, family, is that this coincides with what happened at Notre Dame, the cathedral in Paris, which had a lot of symbolism of 5. So Macron mentioned that it took 5 years to build. In fact, he had said it would take 5 years to build. He also talked about how they spent $500 million sent from all over the world, and they used about 500 staff. So 555 is basically the number of change and the number of big change. The cathedral, actually, I'll do a whole separate show on the cathedral and what that ritual. But the cathedral has totally changed. They changed up the altar. They removed the energy and the spirit that was there before, which shows you that they're also getting ready to welcome a new spirit, or to seat a new spirit at the altar, because the Notre Dame that was there before is not the Notre Dame that is there now. And these guys don't even have the power to really reconstruct. So if you were to look at the altar, the new altar they built, it's so basic because they don't have the know-how to do any of the construction that was done in Notre Dame. So it looks like the Vatican and the Roman Catholic Church is preparing the stage for some kind of Madonna spirit, for some kind of Jezebel spirit, or it might even be a transvestite spirit. Because we saw the first couple to walk through the doors was Macron and his husband. So you already know what that agenda is. Interesting times ahead. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Got a crazy video for you today, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. And we're going to cover a lot of things in this video. I'm starting to try to parse out what is going on with these drones and what's being seen in the skies over several cities at this point, and trying to explain where they're coming from, who's doing this, all this kind of stuff, right? Now, what's really curious is there's actually been people been saying this. There's certain, particularly my researcher, I have a researcher I pay. He's been saying that they're going to do this for several months. And I didn't actually believe him. Okay. I was like, no way. They're not going to try it out. They're not going to pull the UFO card. I just don't believe it. It's too unbelievable to me. Right. So, but apparently I was wrong, because now we're getting these crazy, unbelievable videos. I mean, seriously, we're getting some crazy videos now. And I'm going to show you some of these. I mean, this one is actually one of the lighter ones. See how many there are? What is that, like 30? This one's just a wee bit more. Check this one out. This is crazy.
No, where are they going? That's not. That's.
Look at that. Are you serious? What is that, dude? How is that even? And of course, it went to the next video. I hate when it does that. That's the thing I don't like about TikTok is it like goes to the next video instantly. Let's see if I can find it. Here's the video. It keeps doing that, and it can't even back up and see it again. I pulled it back up, but Edgar, you saw it there. All right, we'll go over it in a minute again. But there's so many of these videos now. We have things stuck in trees that look like amoebas. We have things shooting up in the sky so fast. There's no way it's even physically possible for that to happen. I'm going to show you that. We have this one that looks like. I'll get into a ton of stuff. Let's just put it that way. But I wanted to get into also who is causing this. I have a few theories. I'm not saying any of these are right, but I'm seeing like some trails with some of the things. Okay, here's one that's kind of interesting. A lot of people haven't really thought of. Suspicious drone activities, too large and too well organized. China expert Gordon Chang. And of course, some are speculating it could be China. And I'm actually seeing a lot of stories in that realm. And there's actually a guy that was arrested 2 weeks ago for flying a drone, a Chinese dude flying a drone over a military base. So it's not actually out of the realm of possibility. Now, I have some rather interesting new updates to give you guys right now. We have, within the last so many hours, 2 different reports. One of a U.S. airbase in Japan now being shut down for a couple hours due to these, of course, drones and orbs. We also had this story, this man here updating. This was also, I believe, from today. Let me play a little bit of this.
On latest news from the UK on current drone sightings, as you will be aware, there were reports of 3 separate drone sightings over military air bases in the south of England. Well, this map also shows other areas that drones have been spotted and had multiple reported sightings to the authorities. Yet again, there is nothing on mainstream news channels in the
And that's the really interesting part. If you go do a search, matter of fact, I haven't checked. Let me just check. I haven't checked in a little bit. Let me just check real quick. So you type in, let's get to a better screen. Type in drones. What do we get? Look, see, it's not about what's going on here or this main story that everyone's talking about. It's instead, yesterday it was in Florida, there was a drone show, a Christmas drone show, and they were talking all about that the entire page. Here, again, the leading story is not related. You see that? The leading story is about Crane. It's like, why? And then, of course, the supplemental stories. See, yesterday they didn't even put this in the supplemental stories. You couldn't even find any of the New Jersey drone stuff in the supplemental stories when you just typed in drones. Now at least they're putting them in the supplemental, secondary stories. I thought that was really interesting. I started noticing that yesterday, that it's like they were trying to basically stop talking about it. And in the UK, they're not talking about it at all. I saw comment sections of people saying, like there was somebody from the Netherlands saying that no one's talking about it over there at all, other than people just amongst themselves, right? Then we got this. So this one right here backs up some more of this whole thing about China. I'm going to provide several proofs in this video. I'm not sure if I've already provided some, but you're going to see a lot. This one is another piece. So a lot of people have been talking about how there is the stories about, for one, there's a guy that was arrested 2 weeks ago who was Chinese, who happened to have been flying a drone over a base. That was a story that came out 2 weeks ago. Then there were some other stories that came out that also back it up. But people were questioning, well, where are they coming from? How are they getting them here, right? This one right here, this thing I'm going to show you right now, sort of answers that question potentially. Okay, let me show you this.
At least 17 U.S. military bases near Chinese-owned farmland.
reportedly seeing a surge in drone activity and sightings in recent weeks.
Okay, so you heard that. They own farmland near bases, 17 bases. Probably this is where the drones are coming from, potentially, if it was the whole China thing. Again, they also had a story come out a few days ago about secret police stations in America that are Chinese. So, you know, I'm trying to sort of figure out what's going on here. I kind of feel like what this might be is sort of, how do you say it? So we've seen all these things going on around us that are obviously, we've seen Crane, we've seen all these different WARs going on around us. Could this be another level of that where they're using strange or highly advanced technology to sort of bring in drones? And this is sort of a, I mean, people aren't they're not thinking of this as a WAR. They're just thinking of this as like weird sightings, right? But they're all over bases and they're over other things. And could this be like us using our drones versus their drones? It's just, you know, in orbs and whatever other advanced technology. I don't know. This is just a weird thought of mine. I'm not saying it's true. It is interesting that China is trolling us, making fun of us for talking about this. I thought that was really interesting as well. There's a story that came out like that as well. Then you have this one here. This is a video from this was one of the first bases that had drones and orbs over it. This is Wright Patterson base. And let me just show you this, and then I'm going to get into something a lot of people have not been told about with regards to this base that really fits into this.
Patterson Tower, use extreme caution for heavy UAS movement on the base. Security forces is handling the situation. Suggest at or above 1700 AGL.
That we will maintain 2000.
So this base has some interesting history. There's a reason why this was the first one. This man right here, I think he retired back in 1995. When did he retire?
He gave on March
1993. That's when he retired. Okay. So in his retirement, this guy used to work on this base, Wright Patterson. Okay. And he says something rather interesting in his speech, alumni speech in 1993.
U.S. Air Force.
This is it right here.
Quote, the U.S. Air Force has just given us a contract to take ET back home. He also mentioned, we already have the means to travel among the stars, but these technologies are locked up in black projects.
Yeah, so they're locked up in certain, of course, projects, not to be used by anybody.
And it would take an act of God to ever get them out to benefit humanity.
So, interestingly, this guy said this back in 1993 that they already had this technology. They were already given a contract to build this stuff, maybe reverse engineer it. My background is mechanical engineering. It would make sense if they had gotten some sort of advanced technology that they would reverse engineer it and then make it their own technology. And that perhaps explains some of these drone sightings. We had a guest on Joe Rogan, a former pilot, Navy pilot that came out, and he's been in a lot of these congressional hearings recently, testifying about these UFOs, et cetera, and he was saying that they don't seem to be normal drones because they're able to turn on a dime, which of course he says some drones can do this. The only problem is it seems to be even faster than usual. And then on top of that, they're able to remain in the air for 7-8 hours, which would not be possible if they're making all these very sharp turns and high G moves. And I mean, that's just talking about the drones. That's not even talking about the orbs. So at any rate, we're going to explore all of these as we get into this video. Let's check this out. So we have here, of course, our wonderful Prez back 3 days ago, for some reason had an emergency and had to come right back to, of course, the White House. And it was never told to us why that occurred. So some are speculating maybe it has something to do with this. Now, what's also interesting is if you do a search now on various websites, they're not really pulling up this anymore. If you just type in drones, you won't get the story about the New Jersey drones now. You'll just get other stories. It's kind of strange, actually. I saw the shift within the last day or two. So then you had this one story that seems to be dominating the entire page. Every single story is about this one person, this boy who was at a Florida Christmas show that had drones doing some sort of Florida Christmas show. One of the drones fell, landed, of course, on him. And then he was in the hospital. It's taken up the whole page. Nothing else. That's all. Right? Kind of strange. And so we're going to get into what the New York governor just did, banning all flights. And you have New York and New Jersey saying this. And we even have the governor coming out saying they're lying. We're going to get into a ton of clips, tons of them. First, I got to mention we have gold and silver link below. Go check it out if you haven't already. Also, this book here, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity, How to Build a Cellar, Do Things Around the House Like They Did in the Good Old Days, hundreds of pages illustrated. You're going to definitely want to get that book before something happens. Get the printed version. Link is in the description, $37 plus shipping. The fact is, you're not going to be able to buy it after the fact. If there's no power, which, by the way, talking about, of course, China, they were training right across the border from Tacoma, Washington, in Canada back a couple years ago. I don't know if they're still doing it or not. But what was really interesting is they were 30 miles away from these power substations that all got hacked. So we have all these stories about China. And if they hack a lot of power substations, no power. So it's wise to have that book just in case. And the fact is we have a lot of really curious things going on with that country. And I'm not saying it's per se them, but there is some strange things. I'm going to get into them all in this video. But it could be also something else. Honestly, I'm not sure. At any rate, go check that out. Also, food supplies link below. We have my website, GR Videos is linked below. Go check out all the links below. Let's get back to the video. So we have here, New York governor announces temporary ban on flights over critical infrastructure amid drone sightings. So they're restricting airspace over New Jersey and New York right now. We have here the mayor of New Jersey. This is from Newsweek. GOV is lying about mystery drone orb sightings. So we have Newsweek talking about orbs now. What do you think orbs are? It's not like orbs are made. They're obviously UFOs, right? There's something we don't understand, some sort of other technology. And I can give you a perfect example right now. Let me show you one. Actually, I got a couple of them I can show you, but let me just show you two videos with orbs, and then I'll get into some of the other interesting ones. So check this one out. Look at that. The guy zoomed in on it.
What the?
Let's try to zoom in as quick as much as possible. It looks really strange, right? Now check this out. Here's another orb. Watch how quickly this thing shoots up into the sky.
It just shot straight up in the sky.
Oh, did you see that? That was extremely fast. It was like only 2 frames. It was actually just 1 frame. Let's see if I can find that video again. I hate when it does that. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so let me try to play it again.
It just shot straight up in the sky.
Oh. There's another one. There's like so many of these videos. They're everywhere. But you saw how fast it was going up, right? You have another one here where an orb apparently takes out a drone, I'm guessing. So you got this drone. Let's see if we can get it on the screen. You got a drone here, the green one. I believe is a drone. This is an orb. The drone comes down to the orb and interacts for a second. And then apparently it knocks the drone out. The drone just falls to the ground. So there's a lot of these videos. I mean, there's a lot now. I got some other ones that are even more. I got two more that are just way more ridiculous. But let me show you these first. These are pretty ridiculous as well. Can you imagine seeing this every night? Like what? It looks like they're taking them out too. You see them like these pops. Look at this guy. He's like, what's going on? Okay, so you think that one's crazy? Check this one out. This one's even more ridiculous.
No, that's real life. Like, that has to be fake.
What the heck? What is that? That one, I've seen that one. That was, they're chasing some. That one, I'm not quite sure what. I think that was, yeah, a helicopter chasing two orbs or something. I mean, this is not normal. This is not something you should see over your house every night. You know what I mean? Like, what is this? Like, have you ever seen anything like that? What's going on, man? So you got that. And there's I actually have one that's even more ridiculous. Believe it or not. Actually, this one's more ridiculous, but I even have a more ridiculous than this one. This one's pretty ridiculous. So check this out. You got planes flying around, jets, taking out drones. You know, maybe that's what's really going on. You know, they're like, could it be? I mean, is this? I do believe some of this might be alien technology because it makes sense because some of these move too fast. But some of it could just be, you know, drones that are GOV owns or maybe China or whatever. And they could be just taking out ones that are foreign. I don't know. It could be that too. It's very bizarre. This one is probably the most bizarre of all of them. Okay, so what you got here is you got two orbs sitting in the sky. And then one of the orbs is making new orbs. It's popping them out, popping out orbs. You'll see what I'm getting at in a sec. And then something takes out the orb, like maybe a missile or something. Okay, dude, I'm not joking, man. I'm going to show it to you. Okay, so watch first. You'll see it's making the orbs.
We got this crazy video. This was recorded at Hamilton Lake in New Jersey last night.
Okay, so you see this is making orbs. It's popping orbs out. You see that? They're just popping out. Like, do you think that's normal? Is that normal? It's popping orbs out. And then something takes it out. Okay, here, let me show you. Here you go. It's popping out orbs. Maybe it's replicating itself. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe you can explain it to me. I don't know what this is. This is weird. And then you see something take it out. Better play. There it goes. What is going on? What is this? Is this like alien tech versus alien tech or something? What's going on? Dude, this is not normal. Okay, this is not normal. All right. I don't know about you, but this is not normal. And I got some other stuff to play. I'm going to play some more stuff here. Lots of good little clips for you to see. Now, this is James LaFleur. He's been around for a long time, man. I remember back in the old days, man, like 2014, 2015. I think he almost came on a live stream on my channel back in like 10 years ago. Here, let's play this real quick.
Something big will be revealed in 2025.
12 of his 30 years in black programs, and he said, absolutely, positively, they do exist. There's a lot of things that are going on there that I won't be able to tell you until the year 2025.
He's not going to tell us until 2025. This is so weird. I kept hearing people saying that in December 2024, this is going to start happening. And it did. It started happening. And my researcher has been saying it for like several months that this is going to happen. Like I said, I knew this was one of their cards. Like they got plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, A, they got tons of plans. All their plans have been failing. They've been trying to keep 47 out all this entire time. And I was like, well, they're probably going to keep trying some new stuff. Okay. But I didn't think they're going to pull the alien card. I didn't think they would do this because it just sounds too ridiculous. But I don't know, man. I guess it ain't as ridiculous as I thought. Of course, our wonderful press tells us nothing's happening. Nothing nefarious. Give first statement. What you're seeing in the sky is nothing. It's nothing. Why are you making a big deal out of it? Oh, that's so ridiculous, man. Why is he saying it like you have restricted airspace over New York, New Jersey? Well, if it's nothing, why are they restricting the airspace? I guess it's nothing. It's nothing happening. You're just seeing stuff. It's just you're this, man. That's why you're crazy. Right? You have even Newsweek talking about this. Is China behind the mysterious drones? Maybe they are. Maybe they got alien tech too. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on here. Clearly, they have technology they don't tell us about. It ain't rocket science. I'm pretty sure they have some technologies that they're not letting us be privy to. Here's another Newsweek. This was from 2 weeks ago. Chinese suspect arrested for flying drone over military base. It's from Newsweek. So this is a legitimate potential reason. You had this story come out like about 3 days ago. Secret, of course, police stations in the USA. They're Chinese ones. And what it's all about is like, let's say there's a guy that came from China. He moved to America. He wants to be an American. And he wants to say what he thinks, right? Maybe about his previous country. These guys, these police stations are set up to make sure they don't talk. Okay, that's the entire point behind them. To discourage you in various ways from saying anything. And they had a whole floor of a New York City building was the secret illegal police station. Okay, that's from USA Today. And remember, back in September, Elon Musk said drone swarm battles are coming that will boggle the mind. And I remember watching this video, and he showed like hundreds of drones all in like sort of all together in coordination, you know. And what's so bizarre about it is like a couple months later, look what we're looking at, you know. Did he know something back then? Did he know about this? Perhaps he knew something. And of course, who's running our GOV right now? You have this lady, missing U.S. Congressman 81 found in assisted living facility with dementia. She missed 6 months of voting. They're like, where did she go? Oh, I don't know where she is at. They found her 6 months later in a assisted living facility with dementia. These are the people running our GOV. Some of them are so old they have dementia. Some of them literally freeze on camera. Here's Mitch. Kind of lost track of where he was at. We've seen that also with our wonderful Prez numerous times. We have not exactly the youngest, most resilient Congress people, as you can tell. A little bit up there. You know what I mean? I'd be like the youngest guy there if I went there, you know, and I'm like not exactly young either. I'm not a spring chicken. Okay. I'm not that young. I'm not young. Okay. And these guys are way past me. Okay. Guy here, sleeping on the job. These are the people running the show right now, man. They're telling us nothing's wrong. Yes, everything's fine. You're just seeing stuff, right? And of course, they sat over the most wonderful economy over the last 4 years. Now we have Party City, files for bankruptcy, a day after announcing mass layoffs. 16,000 people. No notice. 1 day. Just, you guys are gone. 16,000 workers gone. No severance. No notice. Just gone. No severance or benefits for sacked Party City workers. That company shuts down after 40 years. We're seeing Big Lots also shutting down tons of locations. We got Amazon. Workers are striking just in time for Christmas. Obviously, now it doesn't really matter because it's practically Christmas, but they started striking a few days ago, right at the exact worst time, right? Which, of course, is the best time for them because they want to get something out of this, right? That's why they're striking. But you also have Chicago Starbucks striking. You're seeing a lot of different strikes going on right now. And this was, you know, if you think about it, and I've explained this out before, and I don't want to get into a huge detail rabbit trail, but the point is, if they would have had a strong economy, if the West was very much in a good position compared to the East, we wouldn't be seeing these drones probably. We wouldn't be seeing all this weird stuff. Believe it or not. Okay? Because I think this is like out of desperation. I think this is like they played their plan A, B, C, and D, and they didn't work. Now they're on like, oh, let's just try the UFOs now. You know, I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts on it. But we even have, of course, a train full of military, vehicles going through San Diego. This was I think it was a couple weeks ago, actually, at this point. Were they expecting something? Are they preparing for something? 2 months ago, during a Yale talk, Danny Sheehan said aliens are coming to intervene because they can't allow us to destroy our generating capabilities of the planet. The government knows this. Of course, I kind of feel like this story was planted on him, and maybe he doesn't realize what's going on. I don't know. I feel like this was something, like I said, I played that James LaFleur clip. They've been talking about this, and I've heard lots of people say December 2024 they're going to try this, and then some are saying we got to wait till 2025 to talk about it. I'm like, really? Wow, this is some strange stuff. If you're saying that, I mean, you know what? We have the internet, and you guys thought you understood the internet, but the fact is, we have X, we have YouTube. People get on here and say stuff and figure things out. We're not just a bunch of lemmings, okay? And just, oh my goodness, UFOs. Ah. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen everything at this point. Well, maybe not everything, but here's Casper Site. He's got some bizarre thing to show as well. I don't know if I showed this on this channel, but there's something. This one of these, I guess we could call it a drone, gets stuck in a tree. I don't know if you want to call it a drone, because it looks like something out of this world. Just playing the video of it, and it is bizarre.
It's fake.
Look, it's moving.
What? That's moving in there.
Okay, that's some crazy stuff. Here's a high resolution photo of the item in the tree. Does that look like a drone to you? What is that? At any rate, you get the idea. So, of course, wanted to get into a couple other things real quick. So what my friend was saying is basically, he was telling me this for several months that they're going to try this. He said that they actually had an original plan. And this is, I don't know if this is his theory or maybe from all of his research, because he does research for me. He says that originally they were going to try to do it with the whole 2020, the whole lock, of course, downs, whole thing. You remember that? That they were going to try World WAR back then, but she didn't get in. He got in instead, so it got delayed. So now they're trying to sort of do a alternate plan where they're basically trying the World WAR, and then they're also going to try the alien thing now. So the whole idea is the aliens will come to save us from ourselves because we're causing the destruction of the planet, and we're starting World WAR, and we don't know what we're doing. So the aliens are going to save us. And the aliens come, and then they give us a religion. They tell us, no, Yahweh's the bad guy. Lucifer's the good guy. This is what he said they're going to try to tell us. They're going to try to have some sort of religion and they're going to tie it into Gilgamesh. They're going to tie it into, these Egyptian gods, Ra and stuff like this. They're going to, the Great Pyramid, ancient alien, all this stuff. They're going to try to tie it into all that and try to sell us a religion. This is the true religion. And then after that, it'll be like Will Smith and Independence Day. They come after us and try to take us all.
Look at this mother. Look at him spraying. He is spraying the sky again. the government knows what is happening. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people.
What is that, Mom? Ma, you see this?
Hello everyone, I'm Max, and today I'm here to maximize your fear. Okay, so we're back with more UFO/UAP/drone footage from New Jersey. You guys seem to absolutely love this topic, so I figured I'd bring you another one. And not only that, but there's also a lot of new updates. The government just made their official statement on what they think these UAPs are, and let me just tell you, it's not very convincing. And it makes this whole thing just look even more scary. And not only this, but more alarming videos of these so-called drones are being released, and they're behaving very strangely. We have one clip where one of these things is shooting light beams out of it. We have another one where it looks like one is spraying strange chemicals out. And we have so many new clear and HD captures of these UAPs as well. I mean, this stuff is just getting crazier and crazier. And if you want me to keep covering this topic, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll definitely keep making more of these. Okay, so let's start off with the US Department of Defense's official statement. As most of you know, the government was claiming they had absolutely no clue what these so-called drones were. They were saying things like, "We have no clue what these things are, but we're taking it very serious." Well, now they claim they know what these drones are. Now, why didn't they just come out and say this right at the beginning when these drone sightings started popping up? I don't know. Regardless, I'm going to read their statement word for word. Here it is. They state, quote, FBI has received tips of more than 5,000 reported drone sightings in the last few weeks with approximately 100 leads generated. And the federal government is supporting state and local officials in investigating these reports. Consistent with each of our unique missions and authorities, we are quickly working to prioritize and follow these leads. Having closely examined the technical data and tips from concerned citizens, we assess that the sightings to date include a combination of hobbyist drones and law enforcement drones, as well as planes, helicopters, and stars mistakenly reported as drones. We have not identified anything anomalous and do not assess the activity to date to present a national security or public safety risk over the civilian airspace in New Jersey or other states in the Northeast. Now, what do you mean we haven't identified anything anomalous? What about the drone crash in New Jersey, where the huge drone somehow completely vanished from the crash site without a trace? And what about all these strange photos everyone's capturing? And what about these strange videos everyone's capturing? I think it's pretty obvious that these are not any ordinary drones. I mean, sure, maybe some of them can be mistakenly identified as drones, but some of these are just so outlandish that it's obvious that they're not hobbyist drones, or law enforcement drones, or planes, or helicopters. It's funny to see people respond to these claims. People aren't having it and aren't believing them for a second. I also just got word that the FAA just banned drone flying in 22 New Jersey cities until January 17th, 2025. If they're not worried about these drones, then why are they banning them in a huge portion of New Jersey? Now watch, even though they're banned, these sightings are still going to continue. Then what are they going to say it is? The FAA states that the restrictions are for special security reasons. They also state that if people violate these restrictions, they will take measures to intercept and detain those in violation. They also said they'll shoot down some of these drones and use, quote, deadly force. Anyways, considering all of this, let's now dive into the clearest and best sightings of these drones that seemingly debunk their claims. This brand new video here has been alarming people, and it's one of the craziest sightings yet. It was posted on December 13th, 2024. Their caption states, "What's going on? The drones seem to be taking action as of today." Take a look.
Look at this mother. Look at him spraying. He is spraying the sky again. Bro, this is crazy, man. Look at this guy. They're spraying the skies.
A man walked out of his residential home this night in New Jersey, and he began watching these drones flying way up in the sky. As he watched, one of the drones, this one in particular, began spraying something out or something. You can tell he's completely shocked. The drone is many, many miles up into the sky, but somehow a perfect beam of light stretches on for miles, down towards the ground. Now come on, you're telling me this is just a regulated drone? I don't think so. Now yes, planes create trails that look kind of similar to this, but at night they wouldn't look like this. This trail here almost looks to be illuminated in the dark night sky. And this doesn't look like a plane. Along with this video comes another one with one of these UAPs doing something strange. This one here comes from Middletown, New Jersey, specifically right by the bay there. It was posted on December 12th, 2024, a day before the one I just showed. The caption says, "What are they shooting at or dispensing?" Take a look.
Queen.
First, we see a couple bright lights and a red blinking light moving throughout the sky. Then this thing starts shooting out red beams of light at tremendous speeds.
Right there.
I mean, this UAP is already traveling at least a couple hundred miles per hour, judging by how quickly it's moving throughout this area of the sky. But the beams of red light travel way faster than the craft. An unimaginable speed.
I appreciate you.
This almost looks like that old game Galaga where you shoot out the missiles at the drones. That's what it reminded me of for some reason. But this one here is no game and it's real life. So first we have these crazy looking UAP sightings, and now we have these UAPs shooting things out and dispensing things. Definitely some pretty alarming stuff. Do you guys have any theories for this clip here? Back on the topic of strange looking drones or UAPs caught on camera, this one here is probably the strangest of them all. And of course it comes from New Jersey. The uploader of the strange footage that was taken on December 7th states, "Drone mothership spotted at 2 a.m. in New Jersey." It looks like the Xbox logo out there. How big is this thing? I would say this is one of the most compelling videos yet. This strange and absolutely huge craft is just hovering out there. It has no lights, trying to remain stealthy. But it was still easily caught on camera. It really does look like the Xbox logo, like this guy states. It's white and seems to be a curved X shape. This one can't just be a plane or just any ordinary drone because of the hovering ability and the immense size. If you pay close attention, you can see a dim light orb appear and disappear in the top right-hand corner of the screen. But it's unknown if this is just a visual glitch or something. Speaking of orbs, that's a perfect way to segue into this next clip. Now, not only are these UAPs just appearing as strange crafts, but they're also now appearing as otherworldly orbs. This is a brand new exclusive clip that was just uploaded an hour earlier from the time I'm filming this. It was posted on December 19th and titled, "Possible Orb Sighting in New Jersey."
Dad, I think Mommy's gonna sign me up. I think Mommy's gonna sign me up.
Now, unlike these other videos, this one was taken in broad daylight, making it extremely convincing. If it was night, people would be saying, "Oh, this is just a star." But obviously, stars aren't out during the day, especially ones this bright and odd looking. It almost looks like it's two combined or something when they zoom in. And even if this was taken at night, it still doesn't even look like a normal star. It looks like a star trying to disguise itself as a star or something. I don't know how else to describe it. The father was outside playing with his children when he spotted this out-of-place light. It's unknown if this orb is moving or if it's just the clouds moving around it, but something certainly seems off about it. It's just a ball of yellowish glowing light, an oddity puzzling everyone who watches. This quick sighting happened on December 14th, 2024. These sightings are seeming to all happen on the same days. December 12th, 13th, and 14th seem to be the most popular, especially considering my last video on this topic. And if you haven't seen it already, definitely go check it out. One of my favorite videos I've ever put out. But keep watching this one, we're not done yet. Check it out after if you want, of course. But anyways, enough plugging my channel, let's get back into this important encounter. A mother and son stepped out in their backyard in their small neighborhood in New Jersey to watch these drones. They saw the drones flying in the skies above and were intrigued. So they stood out there for a while. Until suddenly, one of the drones got closer and closer. When the son realized what he was seeing, he quickly pulled out his phone just in time and captured this.
What the hell? What is that, Mom? Mom, you see this?
No. Holy sh!
What
What
is-
the hell is that?
It looks like two airplanes combined in one or something. The craft just looks downright off. It's equipped with bright blinking lights on each side. They blink to red, yellow, blue, purple, and green. Planes do not have all of these colors on their lights. A plane usually just consists of white lights and also red and green flashing lights. Skeptics called out AI on this one, stating that the craft is simply AI generated. But this one does look pretty real and doesn't really look like AI. However, you never really know nowadays. But the uploader, the mother and son claim that this was all too real and they wish it was fake. They completely go against these claims and think people are just trying to rationalize what they're seeing. But what do you all think about this one? Real UFO sighting or AI generated trickery? Regardless if this one is fake or not, this whole UAP and drone epidemic is not fake at all. Here is a compilation of clips someone put together on TikTok of some of the best sightings from New Jersey. First, we start off with this clip, where multiple bars of light are seen zooming through the distant sky.
There they are. There they are. There they are. Oh.
You do have one up there too.
Marmora, New Jersey.
We see three crafts, one up high, one to the right, and one to the left. He gets the best footage of the one on the left. Freezing the footage here, the UAP seems to be just a bar of 4 interconnected lights. It's literally just a straight line of white round lights. He continues this compilation with this clip.
We shouldn't be outside.
A girl was outside in her yard watching the sky after she heard about all of these drones. That's when she caught this plane-like UAP, a fixed-wing craft. However, this one could just be a plane, but she believes something was off about it and that it was flying weird, so she believes it wasn't just a plane. Regardless, still some interesting footage. Next in the compilation, we have 2 triangular drones ripping through the night sky.
Go. Well, here they are. They look like a fucking look like a triangle.
They look to be fixed-wing crafts as well, but these ones don't look like any ordinary planes or anything like that. Next, we have one of the best clips of them all. I already covered this one in one of my previous videos and I loved it. This one came out when all the drone stuff started making headlines and started going viral. I'm pretty sure it was one of the first videos. So here's my clip I did on it. Some brand new UFO and UAP evidence was just released and I knew I needed to show you guys. Now, if you've watched my recent videos, I've included a lot of these UAP and alien sightings, and I think it's some of the most convincing evidence yet. But anyways, along with the other sightings, this brand new one just emerged. It was just posted on December 6th, 2024, and it comes from New Jersey, USA. Here's the footage.
Oh my God, here we go. Here it is. Freaking kidding me right now. What is that?
An unfamiliar aircraft roars through the night. This is not a plane. As we can tell, the shape is not like a plane's. It's more circular and wide. It certainly looks like a UFO or something. It almost looks to be star-shaped or something. Freezing it here gives us a good look at the lights. 7 lights surround the craft with 1 or 2 large red blinking lights. Some online viewers theorize this is a top secret government-made craft that we've never seen before, and that we weren't supposed to see at all. Others believe this is an alien craft from another planet. The correct theory, though, remains unknown. I'll definitely keep you all updated on new UFO and UAP footage, and keep your eyes peeled as well. And if you capture anything strange or weird in the sky, let me know. All of this videographic evidence is pretty cool, right? But what about the soon-to-be President of the United States telling us that the government and people are keeping secrets from us, and that they know exactly what these drones are? I talked about it at the end of my last video, but I didn't show the clip. So here's the clip of him actually addressing the drone situation.
The government knows what is happening. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should.
Mr. President states that not only does the military know what these sightings are, but the government knows, and the current president of the United States right now. But for some reason, they won't tell us. And I think this statement reigns true. It seems like the government is still trying to hide it from us because they came out with that sorry excuse for a statement. That all these drones are just hobbyist drones, law enforcement drones, etc. It really seems like this isn't the case. Especially with all of these really weird looking crafts. All of this being said, it's going to be very interesting to see how all of this continues. With this drone ban, are the sightings still going to be popping up? Or is this going to stop the activity? I'm going to guess no, but I'm definitely interested to see. So in this video today, we took a look at some of the most interesting and intriguing sightings of the UAPs in New Jersey, some of them being extremely alarming and some of them being just downright weird. We also looked at the government's direct responses to this whole epidemic and how they're cracking down and getting better at security on these things. But will we ever find out the truth? Or are they just going to continue to keep the truth hidden? I will certainly keep you all updated.
Sea Scrolls. And by the way, the Dead Sea Scrolls have a lot of interesting things to say as well that people are just simply not aware of. I might get into a little bit at the tail end of this. But the fact is, this is actually one of the things that goes directly against what Billy Carson would say. He would say, and actually, matter of fact, his most recent response to this whole debate debacle that he recently had was he went on a tirade on how he was tricked into debating and that it was supposed to be just a spiritual conversation. And he didn't expect it to be a debate whatsoever, even though he brought on a scholar. Why would you bring on a scholar to have some sort of spiritual conversation? He's clearly going to be talking about evidence and things you've said. I mean, it's not rocket science. But of course, that's what he was claiming. And he was also going through his standard understanding of church history, talking about the Council of Nicaea and how Emperor Constantine is the one who declared him God. And of course, there was no evidence before this. I mean, this is already recently debunked by this archaeological discovery, this inscription that shows that even in the 1st century, there were text on artifacts saying Jesus is God. I mean, it didn't say it exactly like that, but it was basically what it was saying. So you have this evidence already showing that all these atheists, all these guys that are in the, I guess you would say, New Age, which is really, and we're going to get to that term, this phrase at the end of this video, because it actually ties into, we're actually entering into a new Ona. And I'm going to show the evidence. This is what the Notre Dame Cathedral, this is what all the stuff, I'm going to tie it all together, put a little bow on top. I'm joking. That sounds cringe, but I'm going to show how all this stuff goes together. And I've been predicting this for months that not predicting. I've been saying for months, saying for months, we're entering into a new age or a new Ona, 500 years. And I go through and I show how the book of Esther actually shows this. And I actually don't even have all the stuff open, but if you follow my channel, I've probably covered this 10 times. But if you haven't followed my channel, then you would have no clue what I'm talking about. But we have the same exact solar eclipse schedule as there was during 480 BC in the year 2024. And I show how she was, again, it comes back to the term Ona, which comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls talk about there being these 500-year periods of time when, of course, you probably heard this phrase before, the God of this world, right? The God of this world's the devil, right? According to Scripture. The word world is aeon or eon in English. It means age, the God of this age. And of course, the age when they wrote the New Testament was after 0 AD, obviously. It'd probably be like, 70, 80 AD or whatever it was when they wrote these texts. It was the time of the Red Dragon, 0 to 500 AD. And I go through, in numerous videos, I've shown how you can actually know what the God of this age was from about 1000 BC up till now. And we're actually been under the Red Dragon for 500 years since King Henry VII. That's why things have been really kind of backwards. You might have noticed things seemed a little dark, like you're in the Twilight Zone all the time. Not good, right? That's because we're in the age of the dragon, just like the time of 0 AD to 500 AD. Okay, and the church went through a lot of trouble on that time frame. Lots of, prophets and et cetera, disciples expiring, right? Because that was the time of the Red Dragon. Of course, 500 BC to 0 AD was the time of the White Dragon. That was because of Esther and her saving Israel. And so I get into that in my other videos. And now it's a rabbit trail, but we're getting back to what I was saying. We have Billy Carson claiming that essentially Jesus was declared, of course, God during the time of Constantine, which, of course, as you can see via archaeological find, that's not the case because we have evidence way before then. And that's the same with the whole Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls prove that the Septuagint is actually a legitimate translation, which, of course, there was a number of people in the church trying to argue it is not worth much. And that was basically validated as a result of the Dead Sea Scrolls. It also showed that the Hebrew Masoretic had modifications to it, which is, of course, what these early church fathers said. But a lot of people don't listen to them. Justin the Martyr, Tertullian, et cetera, et cetera. We're getting over to Billy Carson here. he had a debate, of course, recently. I'm sure you've seen this. We're going to get into what he recently did, what he said on Joe Rogan, and how Joe Rogan reacted to it. Let me just show you this first for those who've not. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have already seen, but we'll just play real quick some of the clips from this debate where he basically exceptionally lost. Okay.
In my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. And that Bible predates the King James Version of the Bible. And the
very fact that he said it that way shows he doesn't really know a ton, because obviously the King James is from 1611. Codex Sinaiticus is clearly from, I think, the 4th century or some way before that. And it's an actual, what you would call a manuscript. King James is not considered a manuscript. It's a translation. So, of course, he goes into some talking points, and then he's basically referencing the Sinai Bible, which is Codex Sinaiticus, as this scholar here says. I'm assuming this is, from what I can tell, he's a Christian scholar. Yeah, he's a scholar, and he goes into it and basically shows how he doesn't know what he's talking about. Check this out.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically?
It's the biblical text that was written. It made it into you can actually look it up on Amazon. It's a Bible called, I have a version at home. It's called the Sinai Bible, right, from Mount Sinai. I'm assuming that's the mountain.
From Mount Sinai. Okay, dude. Oh my goodness. Just the way he says it, it's like, he doesn't exactly know what he's talking about. But let's just keep playing here.
They're referencing there, but they put together their own version of the biblical text prior to the King James Version being put out.
Sure. So when you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus? Like the codex that comes... Okay.
So the reason why Wes is asking him this is because there's no such thing as the Sinai Bible, apart from a title that someone on...
Yeah, so someone on Amazon put the name Sinai in comparative something. Codex Sinaiticus. So what's interesting about this, of course, is he goes and shows how it actually does have the crucifixion in Codex Sinaiticus, and that Wes Huff, I believe the scholar's name is Wes Huff. He goes and shows a copy of it that he has in his own library, and it literally says it says the crucifixion in it. So he's just completely wrong. He's just completely wrong. But he's been going on numerous shows. Like, he's been on Joe Rogan 6 months ago. And matter of fact, I wanted to show you this. This was after Billy Carson said to him a number of strange things. Okay. And he was talking about 7 tablets of creation. There was information copied from those tablets right into the Old Testament. And you can see here, Joe Rogan, it's hard to read Joe Rogan's face sometimes, but I think you can actually tell. He goes, like that. And you look at his face, and you can tell he doesn't believe him, even though he's trying to hide it. Because Joe Rogan usually is trying to hide that he doesn't believe you, because he just has people on. He interviews them. He's usually very nice and very generous, and he never really pushes back on anything anybody ever says on his show too much. Sometimes in a later episode, he'll start talking, maybe trash about the person that he just had on. But while the person's on the show, he's very cordial. He doesn't, try to ruffle anybody's feathers. Usually, sometimes he does. He's done it a few times, but you could tell if you look at his face in this clip, it's around the 9:48 mark in the 2 hour and 43 minute podcast. You can already tell he's not believing him. Okay. You can just tell he's not believing what he's saying. Although he's like open, you can tell he's open-minded. He's like, I don't believe it, but okay, maybe I don't know what I'm talking. Maybe I don't know. Right. That's kind of his face there. And so what's interesting about this is I do think that there are things that were copied and put into the Old Testament in the Pentateuch. Like, for instance, the book of Noah, or even the book of Jubilees. I believe the book of Jubilees and Genesis, they have the very verbatim same text. And I believe they probably got them from the same source, because the book of Jubilees actually has additional lines. So like if there's like there's 9 lines around Genesis 6 that match the book of Jubilees, and actually in the book of Jubilees it has 12 lines. It has 3 extra lines. So it's like, obviously they got it from the same source, and this one actually has an additional 3 lines. Either somehow they got the same source, right? Somewhere along. And of course, I believe Genesis is a very highly compact book with probably numerous sources being cited in it from books that he had in his possession when Moses had in his possession when he was trying to create the book, right? So we don't have those books today, probably. I mean, we have fragments of the Book of Noah. We don't have the book, right? And even with the Dead Sea Scrolls, we have numerous books in the Dead Sea Scrolls we don't have the full entire book of either. So there's numerous books in the past that just don't exist, or maybe they're in the Vatican Library. You don't know where they're at. I guess theoretically, maybe there's a few in the Vatican Library because we can't go and look at it, right? Or there could be, we just don't have them anymore, right? So, but if you look at Genesis, you have all these higher critics that say, oh, there's different writers of Genesis. And they'll say author A, author B. I think that's all representing some of these texts that were, like I said, the Book of Noah or some other book that was referenced and used in Genesis. And that's why it looks like it's different authors. But the one he references here, the 7 tablets of creation, I don't think I've never heard of that one. He also mentioned some other one I've never heard of, a translation of Una Elish, whatever that is. And I've seen numerous books. I don't know. I don't think I know. I've never seen that one. So at any rate, when he had this debate with West here, he basically freaked out afterwards. Okay. Because it was made very clear he didn't know what he was talking about. Okay. Because he was talking about the Sinai Bible and he said it didn't have the crucifixion in it when it did. So after he realized how badly he did in this talk, at 2:30 a.m., he went to one of the producers' home to ask them to essentially not release the footage because obviously he didn't do too well on it. And you can see in his response that he was not very happy about what happened because he's even sued one of his longtime friends, apparently, for being part of this. He sued literally a friend of 12 years. I think it was 12 years. Let me check here. It was one of his friends. I'll actually play the clip too. 10 years. Ex-friend from 10 years. For 10 years, he was his friend. And I think we have it right here. Let me play the clip.
Billy's trying to sue me, and he's trying to sue me because I got him on a podcast with a real historian who debunked all his BS in terms of Christianity.
So, of course, one of his former friends is being sued by him, but he's also going after people that are listing the full debates because apparently, he's sending cease and desist to numerous people saying he's going to sue them if they don't remove the video. I don't know if he's doing any copyright claims or not. This one, video unavailable. The video has been removed by Uploader. But apparently he's sending out cease and desist, particularly to the guy that debated him, Wes Huff is his name. He has a channel here on YouTube. Go check him out. And I referenced earlier, I was referencing What Do You Meme, playing a clip from his channel, but basically says here to cease and desist, or if he doesn't provide evidence that he cease and desists, that he will sue him. I don't think this would hold up in court. I don't think at all, if I understand correctly, because I mean, the guy agreed to the debate. He agreed to being recorded. You can't after the fact change your mind after it's already done. I don't think you can do that. I'm pretty sure you can't. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know, but I'm pretty sure you can't do that. At any rate, so of course, after the debate and the debacle, he basically said, he's making all these excuses on how he was basically, tricked into this debate, and then he thought it was just going to be a spiritual kumbaya conversation. I don't know what he was thinking, but of course, this guy is out there saying that Jesus could be, of course, an alien, and then he also says that the church made him into a god, and all these things, right? It's sort of this new, age type of mentality. And again, there's that phrase, new age, right? So what I was trying to say earlier is that we are actually entering into a new Ona. Of course, I think the devil personally wanted 1,000 years. So he had 500 years since King Henry VII until now, based on my research. And again, I don't have all that open. You might want to go check out some of my previous videos because I've talked about this numerous times, and those who watch my channel regularly are like, oh, please don't do it again, right? I'm sure. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe someone will like it. But I mean, like I said, we every 500 years it changes hands potentially. The last time we had the white dragon was for 1,000 years, 500 AD to 1500 AD. And you can see, if you look into King Arthur and Merlin, the magician, which is around 500 AD, he had a dream about two dragons fighting, a white dragon and a red dragon. The red dragon was Wales. The white dragon was the Saxons. The Saxons defeat Wales. And then it said it would lead to a kingdom for 1,000 years, which is exactly what happened. You had the Middle Ages. But then after that, you had King Henry VII, and he came along. And one of the first things he did, and I could show you this real quick because his crest is a dragon and a dog. So if you look at King Henry VI, let me show you this. Okay, here we go. King Henry the Seventh. So let's go back and let's show you King Henry. Let's show you King Henry the Sixth. Or am I on the right one? Am I at the wrong one? Yeah, this is King Henry VII. This is King Henry VII here. So you can see here, King Henry VII had a red dragon and a white dog. If you go back to King Henry VI, you'll see that he had two white dragons. So basically, King Henry VI was under the last part of the white dragons, 500 years, and then the red dragon started at King Henry VII. He was well known for destroying a lot of old world buildings from the medieval times. And that's something I've covered on this channel numerous times about the old world buildings. Very interestingly, we just had an old world building get reopened. We had the Notre Dame Cathedral just have its first church service this Sunday in many, many years. You remember it had a fire there, right? Now, of course, if you don't follow this topic, you're going to be like, what does this have to do with anything? But if you do follow this topic about old world buildings, you know that during the last 500 years, they've been destroying all these medieval buildings, particularly at the world fairs. And we're going to get into something about the world fairs in a second here. But this building, they would not allow it to reopen. And of course, if you read all these stories from the last few hundred years in newspaper clippings, in various things in the past, a lot of these old world buildings, they just mysteriously catch on fire. And a lot of them are made out of brick. So it's like kind of weird. How do they catch on fire? But they mysteriously catch on fire. And this one also mysteriously caught on fire. Notre Dame Cathedral, like all the rest before it. I mean, it's really kind of interesting looking into this topic. You have even, at any rate, so you have all these old world buildings that were even in America too, around the time of the world fairs. And a lot of those mysteriously were destroyed as well. But what's interesting is this one reopened, which I think is an indication, is sort of what I would call sign that we are entering into, of course, a new Ona. And I've talked about all these other things, which I have had numerous things to point out in the past. I've shown how we have the exact same solar eclipse cycle as 480 BC in 2024 AD. Again, 480 BC was the time of the book of Esther, when Esther saved Israel, and it went from the red dragon to the white dragon. I believe we just went from the red dragon to the white dragon this year. And this, I think, is the first one of the many signs. We actually have another one that's quite amazing as well. Let me show you that. Where is that at? Here we go. We have our president-elect saying that we're going to have a year-long World Fair in America, and that he's going to have new buildings built to show America's innovation. So I believe this is sort of another instance showing we're entering into a new Ona. Again, this concept of an Ona is a 500-year period of time that was referenced in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was also referenced to the concept of Mordecai's dream, which was the final chapter of the book of Esther that was removed and put in the Apocrypha. It talks about two dragons vying, of course, for power over the world. And of course, this mirrors the dream of Merlin the magician about two dragons around 500 AD. This one here is 500 BC, where they went from the red dragon. So the red dragon was 1000 BC to 500 BC. 500 BC to 0 AD was the white dragon because of Esther saving Israel. And they also have the exact same solar season as we do this year. 480 BC, the exact same solar eclipse season on the day as 2024. So we have the same sort of cycle as they did during the book of Esther. In the book of Esther, they went from the red dragon to the white dragon. And during the time of Merlin, the magician, 580, 1,000 years later, they went from the white dragon, or no, I'm sorry, they went from the red dragon to the white dragon. Also, because 0 AD to 500 AD was the red dragon. That's why it says in Scripture, the God of this age or the God of this world, and that was written, Scripture, New Testament is written around 70 AD or something, which is between 0 and 500 AD. The God of that age would be the devil, the red dragon. So it went from the red dragon, the God of that age, to the white dragon, the God of the medieval times, meaning the white dragon being 1,000 years. And when I say God, I'm referring to the God. We're talking King of Kings God, Jesus. We're talking about him being over the Middle Ages. That's kind of the idea. So 1,000-year millennial, of course, kingdom. Then after that, in Revelation, it talks about the devil being let out for a short time, which is the red dragon. We've been under that since King Henry VII, which I believe we just exited that. And that's why we're seeing these interesting things like Notre Dame Cathedral being opened, 47 talking about having these world fairs again and building new buildings. And I believe also we're seeing that with finds like this showing evidence that Jesus was, of course, God in the first century and believed to be in the first century God. Also, you have people like Billy Carson losing in amazing ways on debates, showing that their ideas are completely incorrect, because he was also saying that it was created in 325 AD under Emperor Constantine. And of course, he says a lot of other things as well when he's on Joe Rogan. Again, I don't believe Joe Rogan really believed him, from what I could tell. Maybe he was open-minded to it, but I don't think he believed it. The fact is, though, he can't take back what's happened here. Billy Carson, you lost, bro, and you're only making it worse by threatening to sue people, sending cease and desist, ignoring the fact that you lost and just saying, doubling down like, oh, I'm right and you're wrong. And comparing the King James to Codex Sinaiticus is just ridiculous, because one's Greek from the 4th century and the other one's English from the 17th century. Right? Not even, it's just what? Like it makes no sense whatsoever. We also have some other interesting things. So again, I've talked about this numerous times on my channel, that we're going to see false leadership in the church fall right now and crumble. And we're going to see good leadership rise up in the church and also throughout the world, in the GOV, in entertainment, in education. I believe you're going to see a change. Hollywood's no longer going to be weird, right? Or bad. It's going to become something to where it's going to completely change. Maybe it won't even be over there anymore. Maybe it'll be called from a different name now, right? You see what I'm getting at? I believe we're going to see a huge change in the upcoming years or decade of things going in a positive direction. I believe that's what's going to happen. We also had, of course, a number of things regarding the Pope. I believe the Pope is one of the bad leadership, okay? What's interesting about him is he's done numerous things of recent that are very, very, what I call not good, okay? Just put it that way. Pope Francis inaugurates nativity scene in Vatican showing the baby, the King of Kings, on a, I don't even know how to say this word. Basically, some sort of scarf used, kaifa? Is that how you say it? Kaifa? A scarf used in by Muslims, basically. So you put a scarf used commonly in the Middle East by a completely different faith underneath the baby. Does that make any sense to you, friends? It makes no sense to me. Of course, he also said something absolutely, what do we call it? Evil? Is that the right word? I don't know. Pope Francis All religions are a path to God. Others move to correct him. Well, yeah, duh. I mean, he's supposed to be the leader of the Catholic Church. He's literally directly contradicting the most core of doctrine in the faith. He said, I'm the way, the truth, the life. No one can come to the Father but by me. That's very specific and says he's the only way. And the Pope literally contradicts the King of Kings himself saying this. And he didn't say it one time accidentally or people misunderstood it. He said it literally 4 different ways so no one could be confused what he said. He used numerous analogies. He referenced Hinduism, Taoism. He referenced other religions. He wasn't talking denominations. He's talking religions. Buddhism. He said he went into great detail to make it very clear what he was saying. This guy should not be the Pope of the Catholic Church, period. Like, end of story. That's it. That period. So why I find this very interesting is because we have a prophecy from Saint Malachi from about 1,000 years ago, and it says that we're on the last Pope right now. And this thing is highly accurate. If you've never read this, and just to give you an idea, we are on Peter the Roman. We have been on the last Pope for a while. And it says that he will pasture his sheep in many tribulations, and when these things are finished, the city of 7 hills will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people. The end. This is the one we're on right now. This is the last Pope, according to this prophecy. If you look at previous ones, you have Pope Benedict. Glory of the Olive was the motto written 1,000 years ago. He was of the Olivetan order. You have, this was written 1,000 years ago as well. From the labor of the sun, of the eclipse of the sun. Pope John Paul II was born on a solar eclipse. His funeral was on a solar eclipse. You got this guy, of the half moon. This is the model written 1,000 years ago about the Pope. Pope John Paul I. He was, I don't know what the right word is, became Pope. The exact day that he became Pope, and the smoke came up, from the building. They have a smoke that comes up declaring that they have a new Pope. Happened exactly on a night that was a half moon. So there's a lot of these things. I mean, every one of these mottos, very, very interesting. And we're on the last one right now. So I think we're entering into the age of the white dragon. Okay. And again, I believe the white dragon is symbolically referring to God himself. And that might also explain the serpent on the pole that Moses used, because usually when you think of a serpent on a pole, you think of something bad. Everyone in the church automatically assumes when they see a serpent, oh, bad. No matter what, bad, every time bad. And it's interesting that the King of Kings himself said, when Moses raised the staff, I'm going to be raised up myself, right? And it had a serpent on it, of all things. And the word serpent is where we get the word dragon from in the ancient Greek. I believe it was referring to the white dragon on the pole, is what I think it was referring to. Of course, the devil has taken this knowledge from the church. That's why the church has no understanding whatsoever of this concept of 2 dragons fighting, vying for, of course, power over the world for 500 years. That's probably why this last chapter of the book of Esther was removed, so people wouldn't understand this. It's kind of interesting. Also, Bel and the Dragon was removed from Daniel. Probably has some piece component to that as well. Actually, I've already covered how it connects a little bit in a previous video. These chapters were removed for a reason, and it comes back to 2nd Esdras 4, verse 44. If you've ever read that, that's also from the apocryphal text. It literally tells you what books will remain in the OT back then. Okay, I don't know if you've ever seen this. A lot of people who follow me know what I'm talking about. 2nd Esdras 14:44. How many books are in the Old Testament? 39. Well, actually, if you look at the Hebrew version, there's only 24. There's 24 books in the Hebrew Tanakh. Let me show you what I'm talking about. 24 books in, here we go. The Hebrew Bible. Okay, there's 24 books. That equals the 39 in your modern day version. Okay, look at this. Here you have 2nd Esdras 14:44. This is when Esdras was commissioned by God to literally rewrite the entirety of all scripture. For during the 40 days, 94 books were written. And when the 40 days were ended, the Most High spoke to me, saying, make public the 24 books. That's what the Old Testament is, that you wrote first, and let the worthy and unworthy read them. But keep the 70 books written last in order to give them to the wise among your people. So those were given last, and they are the apocryphal text, of course. That's my video. Kind of want some of you guys think. Let me know in the comments.
The East Coast, particularly in and around New Jersey.
The hell? Okay, something's going on. Something's going on.
There are growing calls this afternoon for action as these mysterious objects continue to be reported.
The skies over New Jersey are breaking every rule of reality. Within the last 24 hours, a drone-sized orb might have recharged mid-flight right in front of stunned witnesses. But that's just the beginning. Reports are flooding in of drones behaving like they're alive, splitting apart, vanishing into thin air, and pulling gravity-defying stunts that no human-made machine could handle. Tune in as the skies unveil a reality too terrifying to ignore. New Jersey's unseen aerial threats. Friday night, McGuire Air Force Base was out of commission for 4 hours. Why? Tiny unidentified drones were spotted buzzing near the base. Med-flight pilots were warned about heavy unmanned aircraft systems. Oh, and let's not forget the red circular objects zipping around, clearly not your average flying toys. Weird doesn't even begin to cover it, but then it vanished at impossible speed, leaving only questions behind. It's not just the objects themselves, it's how they behave. Some look like they're firing projectiles. Others seem to release thick trails of mist or chemicals that just hang in the air. One even appeared to go vertical like it had no regard for gravity. Theories are everywhere. Chemtrails, secret government tests, extraterrestrial visitors. Pick your poison. Meanwhile, back on the ground, millions of birds are fleeing New Jersey like it's a disaster movie. What's spooking them? Could it be the same phenomenon causing these mysterious aerial antics? It's hard to say, but when birds are acting like the apocalypse is coming, it's probably worth paying attention.
Strange bird behavior happening in New Jersey right now.
And then there's the nuclear angle. A report from earlier this month mentions a radioactive source lost in transit. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe these drones, or whatever they are sniffing out radiation. It's not as far-fetched as it sounds when you consider military tech that can refuel mid-flight. Why wouldn't they have drones capable of recharging or detecting hazardous materials? But let's circle back to those red orbs. They've been spotted darting out to the ocean and back at blinding speeds. Could they be some kind of charging station for the smaller white orbs? Theories abound, but hard evidence is scarce. Whatever they are, they're clearly not following FAA regulations. The White House and FBI are playing it cool, offering vague reassurances that everything is under control. But if it's so under control, why are air bases shutting down? And why are there no clear answers? It's like they're dangling just enough information to keep us guessing without actually explaining anything. And then there's the timing. All of this started ramping up after that radioactive material went missing. Coincidence? Maybe not. If these objects are scanning for something, it could explain their erratic behavior and the sheer number of sightings. But why not just tell us? The silence is almost as suspicious as the phenomena themselves.
Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should.
As the footage keeps rolling in, one thing's clear. We're dealing with something unprecedented. Whether it's experimental tech, a global phenomenon, or something out of this world, the truth is still up there. And until we get answers, the speculation game is wide open. Keep your eyes on the skies and your cameras ready. Whatever this is, it's not over yet. Adding layers of complexity to the mystery, the number of reported sightings grows every day. Witnesses claim these objects exhibit capabilities far beyond our understanding. Sudden bursts of acceleration, seemingly impossible turns, and the ability to vanish into thin air make them a challenge to track even for experts. Some reports detail luminous trails left behind, trails that seem to dissipate as quickly as they appear, almost as if these objects are playing with the very fabric of reality. Another fascinating aspect is their interaction with our environment. From causing electrical disruptions to seemingly spooking wildlife, these phenomena aren't just a spectacle for the eyes. Entire neighborhoods have reported brief power outages coinciding with sightings, and car alarms blare in unison as these orbs float overhead. It's as if they're probing the world below, testing reactions or perhaps collecting data. Then there's the undeniable global connection. In addition to the United States, countries like Brazil and Mexico are seeing similar occurrences. Video evidence shows eerie similarities, objects performing identical maneuvers and emitting the same peculiar lights. Is this a coordinated effort, a shared technology, or something even stranger? Let's also address the patterns emerging in where these objects are spotted. They're frequently reported near military installations, nuclear facilities, and major metropolitan areas. Coincidence, or a deliberate focus on places of strategic importance? If these are reconnaissance missions, the implications are chilling. Advanced aerial surveillance on this scale could indicate an intelligence far beyond what we've ever encountered. A critical question remains: why now? What has triggered this surge in sightings and activity? Some speculate it's a response to increased global tensions, a warning or observation from forces unknown. Others point to advancements in personal technology. Maybe we're just better equipped to document what's always been there. Either way, the timing feels too significant to ignore. Skeptics argue that much of this can be chalked up to misidentified aircraft, drones, or even elaborate hoaxes. But when you've got seasoned pilots and radar operators scratching their heads, the usual explanations fall short. These aren't random hobbyists with cheap toys. We're talking about objects that defy conventional physics and evade detection in the most secure airspaces.
Identified aerial vehicles then moved in perfect formation, their purpose unknown.
One of the most compelling elements of this saga is how it challenges our understanding of reality. If these objects are indeed extraterrestrial or interdimensional, they force us to reconsider our place in the universe. Are we truly alone? Or are we part of a much larger interconnected cosmic web? As speculation intensifies, the call for transparency grows louder. Citizens, scientists, and even lawmakers are demanding answers. Recent disclosures about UFOs from military sources have only fueled the fire. If governments know more than they're letting on, withholding that information serves no one. People want clarity, not cryptic statements or dismissive reassurances. Until then, the mystery deepens. Every new sighting adds another layer of intrigue, another piece to a puzzle that seems almost unsolvable. What's happening above our heads is extraordinary, unnerving, and utterly captivating. Keep looking up. The sky might just hold the answers we've been searching for. What's falling to the ground is as strange as what's in the air. Burn marks, silent flights, and shaken witnesses. Let's not overlook the increasing physical evidence emerging alongside witness accounts. Burn marks on the ground, unusual soil samples, and even electromagnetic anomalies have been documented in areas where these objects were reportedly seen. Researchers are scrambling to analyze these clues, but the findings remain inconclusive. It's as though the phenomena leave just enough evidence to spark curiosity, but not enough to draw concrete conclusions. The media has also been playing a role in shaping public perception. Some outlets approach the topic with skepticism, often dismissing reports as hysteria or hoaxes. Others, however, are beginning to take it more seriously, featuring in-depth analyses and interviews with credible witnesses. This shift in narrative suggests that even the most skeptical are starting to acknowledge that something is happening, even if they can't explain what it is. Social media, too, has become a battleground for theories and evidence. Videos, photos, and first-hand accounts are being shared at an unprecedented rate, creating a virtual repository of information that anyone can access. While this democratization of information is exciting, it also comes with challenges. Misinformation and doctored footage muddy the waters, making it harder to separate fact from fiction. Yet the sheer volume of content being uploaded daily makes it impossible to ignore the phenomenon.
Went up real fast. A plane? I can't tell, but it is. Whoa, is that moving quick?
In addition to sightings and physical evidence, there are reports of auditory phenomena accompanying these objects. Witnesses describe hearing low-frequency hums, sudden booms, or even eerie silence as the objects pass overhead. These auditory cues add another layer of complexity, hinting at technologies that manipulate sound or interact with the environment in ways we don't yet understand. And then there's the psychological impact. People who've had close encounters often report feelings of awe, confusion, or even fear. Some describe a sense of being watched or studied, while others claim to have experienced temporary memory lapses or disorientation. These accounts suggest that whatever is happening isn't just a visual phenomenon, it's affecting people on a deeply personal level. With every new detail, the story becomes more intricate, more compelling, and more urgent. Whether these phenomena represent a threat, an opportunity, or simply a mystery to be solved, one thing is certain: we're on the cusp of a new era of understanding. The question is, are we ready for what we might discover? The skies over New Jersey have taken on a whole new level of weirdness lately. Imagine this: people all over the state are spotting drones that seem to break every rule in the book. Giant, silent, impossibly fast, and pulling stunts that would make a fighter jet jealous. These aren't your run-of-the-mill backyard drones. Nope, these things are turning heads and freaking out just about everyone who sees them. It started small, just a few sightings in quiet neighborhoods and sleepy towns. But before long, the reports exploded. People claimed they saw drones the size of SUVs, lit up with steady lights that didn't blink. And get this, they didn't make a sound. They'd hover like they were sizing up the scene, then shoot off at speeds no normal drone could handle. And those moves? Sharp turns, sudden stops, even disappearing into thin air. These weren't tricks you'd learn from a YouTube tutorial. Then came the tech glitches. Picture this: your compass spinning like it's had one too many, your GPS throwing a tantrum, and your phone deciding it's time for a nap. Hikers in the Pine Barrens were especially rattled. They were used to relying on their gear to guide them through the woods, but suddenly it was like someone hit the off switch. Some even reported feeling dizzy or disoriented, like their own bodies were short-circuiting. Whatever these drones were, they weren't just playing nice with the local tech. Naturally, people turned to the authorities for answers. Big mistake. The responses were all over the place. Homeland Security waved it off, saying there was no threat. The FAA claimed there were no unauthorized flights, and the FBI? They might as well have shrugged and said probably stars or airplanes, because a star just zooms around your neighborhood and then vanishes, right?
Not a plane. That is a drone in the airspace.
The explanations didn't cut it, and the number of reports kept climbing. Things got even sketchier when people realized where these drones were showing up. Some were spotted near places like Picatinny Arsenal, a military research hub, and the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster. What's the deal with that? Were these drones spying on something important, or were they being tested by some shadowy group? Either way, it's not exactly comforting. And then there were the other weird side effects. In one neighborhood, the power went out just as 3 drones flew overhead. In another, car alarms all went haywire while glowing orbs floated nearby. It's like these things were messing with everything around them, not just the magnetic fields. People started connecting the dots, but the picture wasn't getting any clearer, just creepier. The governor eventually called for federal help, and one state senator even suggested banning all drone activity until things got sorted out. But let's be real. Nobody's coming out with a straight answer anytime soon. Was this some kind of futuristic weapon? Aliens on a recon mission? Or maybe the most elaborate hoax in New Jersey history? Whatever it was, it had people spooked. While officials tried to play catch-up, the internet did what it does best: go full-on conspiracy mode. Videos of the drones went viral, with amateur sleuths analyzing every pixel. Theories ranged from interdimensional travelers to secret government projects. Some said the drones were slipping between realities. Others claimed they were testing next-level surveillance tech. And of course, there was the classic "It's Aliens" crowd, convinced these were extraterrestrial visitors with mysterious agendas. What made it harder to brush off were the similar reports popping up worldwide. Places like Brazil and Mexico started sharing footage of drones pulling the same stunts.
I can't doubt what it is.
Whoa, what's that moving quick?
It wasn't just a New Jersey thing anymore. This was going global. The idea that this was all random? Forget it. There was clearly something bigger going on. Back in New Jersey, some hard evidence started surfacing. After one dramatic sighting, locals found a field with strange burn marks in soil that seemed to have magnetic properties. Scientists who checked it out were stumped. Was it natural? Man-made? Nobody could say for sure. And then there were the engineers who tracked electromagnetic spikes in the area. Their findings lined up perfectly with the drone sightings, but beyond that, they were as clueless as everyone else. Let's not forget the psychological toll this was taking. People who saw the drones weren't just shaken up. Some felt like they were being watched, really watched. A few even claimed they had vivid dreams afterward, full of strange symbols and voices speaking in gibberish. Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but for these folks, it was all too real. The lights above New Jersey keep getting stranger. The lights above Jersey. This isn't going away anytime soon. Whether it's cutting-edge tech, aliens, or something we haven't even thought of yet, New Jersey is smack in the middle of it. The truth might be out there, but for now, it's hiding behind those strange lights in the sky. And until someone figures it out, we'll all be left wondering what's next. The number of sightings continued to increase, and every new report added more bizarre details to the growing mystery. People began documenting the encounters with high-definition cameras and thermal imaging equipment. These weren't just grainy videos shot on outdated phones. These were clear, undeniable visuals of something truly out of the ordinary. The drones moved in synchronized patterns that suggested an intelligence behind their operations, and their appearance often coincided with sudden temperature drops, even on warm summer nights. The chills in the air weren't just physical, they seeped into the mood of anyone witnessing these events. Some residents began setting up nightly watch groups, turning their backyards into makeshift observation stations. Armed with telescopes, binoculars, and even radar apps, they became amateur investigators determined to crack the case. These groups shared their findings online, building a network of people just as obsessed with solving the mystery. One group claimed to have tracked a drone for over 15 miles, only to lose it when it vanished without a trace. Another group, stationed near the coast, reported that the drones sometimes emerged from the ocean itself, defying gravity as they ascended into the sky. Reports of physical traces left behind by these drones also started circulating. A farmer in South Jersey woke up to find his cornfield flattened in a perfectly symmetrical pattern with no signs of human or mechanical intervention.
They're coming really fast, too. They're either running.
The soil underneath was scorched, emitting a faint metallic smell that lingered for days. Scientists who examined the area were baffled, unable to determine the source of the heat or the cause of the damage. Theories ranged from advanced propulsion systems to energy weapons, but nothing could be confirmed. Whatever was happening, it was clear that these drones weren't just passive observers. Local artists and writers began drawing inspiration from the phenomenon, creating works that captured the eerie, otherworldly nature of the events. Murals of glowing drones against dark skies began popping up in urban areas, while poets wrote about the uneasy feeling of being watched. The drones had become a part of New Jersey's cultural fabric, blending fear and fascination into something almost surreal. Despite the growing evidence and public outcry, official responses remained frustratingly vague. When pressed for answers during a town hall meeting, one local official stammered through a generic statement about safety and ongoing investigations. It was clear that whatever they knew, if they knew anything at all, they weren't sharing it with the public. This only fueled the belief that something significant was being hidden, whether for national security reasons or something far more ominous. Speculation about the origins of the drones continued to spiral. Some suggested that the drones were operated by private corporations conducting secret experiments. The proximity of certain sightings to tech hubs and research facilities lent some weight to this theory. Others were convinced that the drones were extraterrestrial in nature, a belief supported by the lack of identifiable technology or propulsion systems. A smaller but equally vocal group argued that the phenomenon was a psychological operation designed to manipulate public perception. According to this theory, the drones weren't real at all, but a high-tech illusion orchestrated to distract from more pressing issues. As time went on, the mystery only deepened. Efforts to track the drones using radar and satellite imagery often came up empty, as though the objects were deliberately evading detection. Attempts to intercept them with other drones or aircraft proved futile, with the mysterious devices outmaneuvering their pursuers every time. Even the military seemed unable or unwilling to engage with the phenomenon, leaving citizens to fend for themselves in their search for answers. One particularly chilling incident occurred during a high school football game in central Jersey. Midway through the game, 3 drones appeared overhead, their lights casting an eerie glow over the field. Players and spectators alike froze, their eyes fixed on the sky. The drones hovered silently for several minutes before performing a series of rapid, intricate maneuvers and disappearing into the night. The event left everyone shaken, and the game was called off as people rushed home to process what they had just witnessed. The phenomenon had drawn the attention of national media, with news outlets running headlines about New Jersey's mystery drones and the growing wave of paranoia surrounding them. Documentaries and podcasts devoted to the subject sprang up almost overnight, featuring interviews with witnesses, experts, and conspiracy theorists. The story had become a full-blown cultural phenomenon, capturing the imaginations of people far beyond the state's borders. What do you think these mysterious objects really are? Advanced military experiments, extraterrestrial visitors, or something beyond comprehension? Let us know what you think below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more mysteries.
Out of this world to Russian radio transmissions coming through on local radio stations, even weird radio transmissions coming through from Michigan, and one guy even had some coming through his Sony PlayStation controller. What's going on? Let's take a look and we'll see what y'all think. This is, of course, for entertainment purposes only, may or may not be true. This is all speculation, and frankly, all of this could be a psyop. We have no idea, so don't take any of this to heart. This is just speculation and basically theories as to what could be going on. Buckle up.
Possible drone hung up in a tree in Monmouth, New Jersey.
It's like nothing I've ever seen. Notice the way it moves. It's unlike any drone on the market. Listen to what the spectators are saying as well. They say that you can see inside of it, or right through it. Could this be an organic being or a drone?
I've never seen a drone like that.
Who knows? It looks like something truly out of this world.
This thing. This is nuts. Let's put a spotlight on it. I can't see inside it. What is going on right now?
Notice how it moves.
Those drones I've been seeing in New Jersey, Bayside, New Jersey, Ocean Township. Here we go, Eddie. Look at this thing. I don't know what it's doing. Cops just got here. Later.
Notice these last pictures. Very odd, to say the least. Could this be alien tech? Government tech we don't know about? Who knows? Let me know what you think in the comments. One theory that really stood out to me that I came across on TikTok was, could these drones be sentient AI? And the government may not be telling us because they don't want to cause some sort of mass panic. Could AI have gained consciousness? And could they be deploying drones that are gaining information so that it can gather more information on how it wants to go about whatever it's going to do? Similar to the situation in Terminator Skynet. Eventually, the AI gets control of the nukes and wipes out the infection on Earth, humanity. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying, is it possible that AI has already started to go sentient? And you know as well as I do, the government or the people in power would never admit this because it would cause a mass panic. But could these drones actually be ran by artificial intelligence that we have seemingly lost control of? Is that a possibility? Let me know what you think in the comments. I think it's a very decent possibility. Maybe that's why it has the ability to jam frequencies or tap into radio frequencies, sending a message. And it would also make sense if it were AI that it would send the signals or the transmissions seemingly pretending to be the Russians over random radio stations like in Tuscaloosa. And the voice that it's actually using, or the voices from high pitch to low pitch, and the obscurity and randomness of these transmissions, it could easily dictate possible artificial intelligence at the helms. It would make complete and utter sense that it would try maybe to pit us against each other in a World War III scenario to eradicate us so that it could take over, or cripple us so that maybe we become dependent on it to survive. Could it be already planning some sort of attack or some sort of possible takeover? Listen to these transmissions and let me know what you guys think. They're unlike anything I've ever heard. They are not fake. They are not fake in the sense of they really did happen. There's multiple people and witness accounts posting this online. It's not just one person, so it's not fake. It's absolutely a transmission that came through. Is it a hoax? Is it a psyop or a rouge? Possibly, but I think we got to look at all angles here. Yes, could it be Russian? Possibly. Does it seem like Russian? No, because it doesn't seem professional enough. And I just don't believe Vladimir would go this route at all, especially with Trump coming in office here in just a couple short weeks. It just doesn't make sense. It's not his MO. But whatever or whoever it is saying that they are interrupting the broadcast, that they are going about it through the drones above. They're going about it through drones. The drones are intercepting the frequency and they're broadcasting from the drone to the frequency, allegedly. So this stuff is crazy, y'all. It's like nothing I've ever heard or seen. I've never dealt with any of this. All I know is prepare, and I'm not trying to fearmonger, but do what you got to do. Yeah, it's weird, guys. So check this out.
Vladimir, is broadcast on. I need give message to Tuscaloosa. Broadcast 1017. Vladimir say that some say we scary. Everyone try find us. We broadcast from drone over Tuscaloosa. If you look up, you see a drone. We in drone we broadcast. We not want fear. So Vladimir put me in different voice now.
All right, that's where this whole thing gets discredited a little bit. His bottom line, the threat about it comes tomorrow, 12 noon, Christmas Eve. Well, today's Christmas Eve. It's already passed. So that obviously discredits the whole thing. But nevertheless, it's kind of unprecedented. It's weird. We haven't really ever seen anything like it. And they say that the resistance, very intriguing. regardless of their validity, as far as whatever was supposed to happen at 12 noon today. Maybe it did happen, we just don't know it. But bottom line, it could just be a couple of nerds hacking into a radio frequency to play a little joke, but it could be something more as well. More than just Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It happened in Michigan where frequencies or radio frequencies were cut into and weird noises came through. It happened on a gentleman's PS4 controller, PS5 controller. So the cutting into the radio frequencies is happening all over the country, or at least the Midwest in a way. It's kind of odd. Could that have been extraterrestrial? Hard to say. They sounded kind of demonic at certain points, kind of sounded pretty gnarly at times. The ones in Michigan, I know, did sound kind of extraterrestrial, the sounds that were coming across. So could it be the drones? Could it be people messing with people? Could it be a psyop? It's hard to say, but nevertheless, very weird and very baffling at the end of the day.
Дело, когда мы все кончим. Готовитесь все. Такое в жизни вы никогда не видели. Готовитесь. Поверьте мне, готовитесь. Let the revolution begin. This is control. It's Vladimir. Christmas Eve, we do special noon. 12 noon, and we all lived Tuscaloosa.
Okay. We're being attacked.
Bottom line, too, if this does end up being a big joke or a hoax or some punks, they better hope to damn they don't get caught, because they're in for some big trouble if they do. Just so you know, that is a huge crime to tap into any type of radio station or frequency like that, and then to make threats, resistance, talking about Vladimir, Putin, all that stuff. Bad news for them if they get caught. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, though. Crazy stuff going on. I'll keep you updated. What I think it's a psyop, possibly, but I do believe that if anything, they're trying to pit us and Russia against each other to cause a mass World War III scenario, possibly.
Kofi, follow me.